Good morning to everyone present here. Bhumika Trust welcomes you all to this webinar, Provisions of Rights of Persons with Disabilities. So here we will be talking about the RPW Act first. So it is an act to give effect to the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. Whereas the United Nations General Assembly adopted its Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities on 13th of December 2006, and whereas the aforesaid convention lays down the following principles for empowerment of persons with disabilities: respect for inherent dignity, individual autonomy, including the freedom to make one's own choice and independence of persons, non discrimination, full and effective participation and inclusion in society, respect for difference and acceptance of persons with disability as part of human diversity and humanity. The Gazette of India Extraordinary Equality of Opportunity, Accessibility, Equality between men and women, respect for the evolving capacities of children with disabilities, and respect for the right of children with disabilities to preserve their identities. So, here I would like to welcome our first panelist, Dr. Sanjay Shrikant Jain. He has a teaching experience of 25 years across institutions, including the postgraduate department of University of Nagpur, Savitri Phule, Pune University, Bharati Vidyapeeth, New Law College, Pune, MP Law College, Aurangabad, and most recently, the ILS Law College, Pune, where he taught for 14 years and also held additional charge as principal from 2020 to 2022. Dr. Jain is totally blind since birth and is passionate about disability rights. In 2004, he received the National Award in the Employee category, instituted by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment from former President of India, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. Recently, his scholarships have been cited by Honorable Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, Supreme Court of India, in Vikash Kumar versus Union of India, February 2021, which held that an individual suffering from dysgraphia or writer's cramp is entitled to a scribe in civil services examination. Thank you. Sir, the mic is yours.
So, Mr. Jain and the other members of the Bhumika Trust and all my friends, just a small correction. I am no longer at ILS Law College. Presently, I am teaching at National Law School, India University, Bangalore as a professor. I was in Law College till May 2022. Let me first greet all of you a very happy World Disabled Day, and I hope that this day, this momentous occasion will drive all of us to rejuvenate our mission, become self-reliant, our firm determination to challenge discrimination, and our resolve to make this society a much more egalitarian society than what it is. The topic which is assigned to me today is to very briefly speak about the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016 and highlight some important provisions. So what I will do at that time. Firstly, let me tell you that Rights of Persons with Disability Act 2016 is a major advancement over persons with disabilities, equal opportunities, full participation, and protection of Civil Rights Act 1995. The main reason for this advancement is India's unconditional signing and ratification of United Nations Convention on Rights of Persons with Disabilities 2006, which entered into force on 8. Since India has ratified this convention without any reservation, without any conditions, therefore it was obligatory as a state party to this convention for Indian Parliament to make necessary changes in laws and even constitution and ensure that the mandate of this important convention is complied. To some extent, at least, Parliament was successful in doing so because in 2016, when this law was enacted, Rights of Persons with Disability Act was enacted for the first time. There was a provision, there is a provision now clearly prohibits discrimination on the ground of physical and mental disability. There's a bar on discrimination on the ground of physical and of course, by a proviso, section 3, clause 3, it is also made clear that to pursue a legitimate end, discriminatory measures can be adopted or disabled people can be excluded from certain spheres, provided that the exclusion is proportionate. However, in my opinion, the proviso is not very uh, very clear, and proviso is merely technical because it is not possible in given circumstances justify any exclusion from the of the PWDs from any areas, because the condition is that such exclusion has to be proportionate. And what is proportionate? How can you justify any exclusion as proportionate without providing reason? How can state provide reasons like one of the reasons, for example, that the environment is inaccessible or that we don't have uh, technical gadgets to support PWDs? If that is done, then what will happen is you will, in order to rely on one provision, state would violate another provision because the act equally is emphatic in laying down that people with disabilities are entitled to reasonable accommodation, and denial of reasonable accommodation amounts to disability-based discrimination. So, therefore, it is very clear that with the enactment of RPWD Act 2016, no longer it is possible for the state or its authorities to use disability as a ground of discrimination. But this is law. What are facts? Actually, the discrimination of PWDs continues, exclusion of PWDs continues, and isolation and alienation of PWDs continues because the law is not implemented, because the state is not serious in complying its own mandate. Uh, Therefore, we have instances where students are not allowed to appear in exam with writers, or where students are not allowed to avail extra time, or certain spheres of jobs are totally closed on PWDs. So, very clearly, therefore, there is a gap between the cup and the lip. There is lot to be desired. So I was just trying to point out that on the day of on the World Disability Day, we cannot be pessimistic. We cannot simply say that just because law is not implemented or just because there is too much discrimination on ground, situation is totally bad. not like that. There are bad examples, there are some good examples as well. For example, recently, Supreme Court, Justice Chandrachud and Hema Kohli's bench, they personally intervened in a matter involving uh, a couple where the husband was disabled, and they ensured that the litigants are allowed in the courtroom, and the one of the husband being on the wheelchair, his uh, his wheelchair was given entry. His entry was facilitated in the court, and court was able to have a good conversation with the parties. This is one example. Another example is, of course, a leap of faith by Justice Chandrachud through his lectures, through his actions, because he's determined to make the judiciary accessible, approachable to people with disability. And just yesterday, a committee has been constituted towards this end, and I'm happy to say that I am one of the members of that committee. So that is another thing. And thirdly, in some interesting judgments handed down recently, court has very clearly stated that you cannot look at disability as a ground of discrimination in isolation. You have to identify the impact of other grounds of discrimination on disability. You have to take cognizance of intersection of other grounds of disability with disability. For example, what happens when there is an intersection of disability, gender, and caste? What happens when Dalit disabled woman is raped? Whether the impact of crime on her is similar, or is it compounded? Because although rape is a very heinous offense, but rape on a able-bodied woman and rape on a disabled and Dalit woman is totally are two different cases, and can easily imagine uh, how the latter is more vulnerable. And to deal with intersection, you can't just use normal laws, traditional laws. You have to have policies. You have to have um, sensitivity. You have to afford. You have to foster the principle of dignity more firmly. So therefore, intersectionality is our latest principle. It's a very powerful principle put into play by the court. Uh, and court has not used the same only in the context of criminal offences, but also in context of availing opportunities. For example, when a sportswoman was deprived opportunity to participate in an event, Chennai High Court used intersectionality. Sportswoman, and if she's a disabled sport. So what happens when there is an intersection of disability and gender? So intersectionality is one of the main focuses now. Besides, court has recognized the personhood. It has attached highest importance to the personhood of disabled people. So, in Jija Ghosh, for example, court very clearly stated that just because somebody looks different, should she be branded as abnormal? Should she be not allowed to exercise her civil right, including right to travel by plane? And therefore, court imposed a very heavy fine, heavy penalty on Kingfisher by asking the Kingfisher to pay, or I think Jet Airways to pay a compensation of INR 10 lakhs to this Shagosh. So these cases clearly show that although still discrimination persists, courts are ready and willing, at least in some cases, to stand up and show the mirror to the state. Right? Then another very important milestone which court has achieved is to highlight this fact. We should not confuse disabled with or people with disabilities with persons with benchmark disabilities. There is a marked difference between people with disabilities and people with benchmark disabilities. The notion of people with benchmark disability is a small bracket within the umbrella of disability. RPWD Act is not about persons with benchmark disabilities. It is about persons. The category of persons with benchmark disabilities is identified just to ensure that the limited resources like quotas, reservations, and other benefits, other valuable benefits, they should be distributed to those who deserve them the most. So therefore, Supreme Court very clearly held in Kash Kumar that provision to write an exam with the help of a writer is not a quota, or is it a very valuable and scarce resource. Rather, facility of a writer is a general facility. It is just one of the accommodations. And right to avail reasonable accommodation is not confined. It's not limited only to people with disability. Therefore, court held that any person with disability, irrespective of the percentage of disability, whether it is severe or non-severe, nobody can be denied right to reasonable accommodation. So a very important decision handed down by Supreme Court, clarifying the distinction between disability as such and the benchmark disability. Thirdly, recently Supreme Court has come down very heavily on government on its bid to impose a blanket exemption or to have blanket exemption to the disabled in the arena of combat military and police departments. It has very clearly held that even in military and police departments, there are not combating zones. Like in military also, there is a position of clerk, counselor, etc. Same is the case with police. So how can you completely exempt total exemption in the matter of from this establishment? The court has very categorically directed the government to think the matter afresh, think the matter positively. And therefore, I think this is a very good judgment to send a message across the administration that this myth that people with disabilities are incapable of performing some certain function in all establishments or in certain establishment really busted, right? No longer this myth should be entertained. So therefore, this is another milestone which has achieved with judgment. Uh, so far as other aspects are concerned, for example, now government is rolling out a policy to implement the RPWD Act, and the initial draft rolled out by the government was fairly objected to by the because it did not represent either the experiences of the lived experiences of the parties, and therefore the draft was recalled by the government, and hopefully today, good day to roll out the revised draft. And in the process of the revised draft, from on behalf of analysts, we had also made a contribution. The fourth important aspect which I would like to focus is important question: whether accessibility is a luxury or is it a part of any particular right? Because can you enjoy any right as a disabled person without accessibility? Be it right to surf on the internet or right to use your gadgets like television or washing machine, or right to navigate on the road. And therefore, can it be said that only state is under the obligation to provide, to secure accessible normally? So in a recent order, the CCPD, the Chief Commissioner of Persons with very clearly held the context of the web accessibility, that the obligation to make websites accessible is not limited. Government and even private establishments are under obligation. They should ensure that the people with disabilities are able to access the websites. For example, in the health sector, if I want to access any portal, if the portal is not accessible, how I will use that? So it is very clear that this public-private dichotomy is challenged by the court, and the court has held that right to accessibility is overarching. It doesn't have any bounds. Like the fifth important point, which I would like to stress regarding schooling of people with disabilities, and recently the judgment on of ongoing litigation, right to education of the children with disability. It is a well-known fact that in very few states, or in no states, we have been able to implement uh, this important right with people with disability. We don't have teachers, we don't have personnel, we don't have infrastructure. And the matter which started from UP, now court has on board all the states. They are asked to come out with a directive, come out with a policy, come out with a program, steer ahead is important, right? Because you don't provide right to education to children, you cannot build generations of this. And it's a dent, serious dent, progress of a particular generation. Therefore, that aspect is also being taken care of. Sixthly, when it comes to COVID or COVID-like pandemics, are we able to strengthen our health sector? Whether the health sector is sensitive to the needs of the disabled. For example, do we have accessible thermometers, accessible blood pressure measuring machine? And if at all they are available, are they, can they be bought by people with disability? Are they available in market? I want to go and buy a medicine, whether I get the prescription in an accessible manner. Whether my doctor is able to write a prescription is understandable to me. When my chemist gives me medicine, am I able to desegregate medicines? Because how I'm supposed to know the names of the tablets? These are some of the very practical difficulties. For example, ideas like social distancing. Does social distancing be sensitive to the special needs of the people with disabilities? For example, mask. Should you use transparent masks so that people with speech disabilities, they are able to read the lips, they are able to lip reading through these masks, because if the mask is not transparent, if it is opaque, how not creating inhibitions in the way of such. There are a lot of challenges. For example, one of the most important challenges is, unlike 1995 Act, this Act has now 20. Practically, there is a threefold increase in the conditions which are now understood to be disability, physical and mental disability. Have we geared up to cope up with such a massive expansion? Whether the administration is sensitive to and aware of the massive expansion in the scope of the disabilities? I don't think so. And this is evident from the fact that National Family Health Survey Board recent survey, it says that there is a phenomenal decrease in the number of disabilities to 1% from 2.2%. So this is something which is unbelievable, because in 2018, as well as in the National Sample Survey of Organization and even the census of 2010, very clearly maintained some the figure of disabled people somewhere near around 2%. So how can there be a drastic decrease between 3 years? unless and until, of course, it is assumed that people with disabilities have somehow disappeared, uh, which is something which is obnoxious one to assume. So this goes to show that we are very poor at collecting, gathering data, and if you don't have proper data, we cannot make interventions, because without data you can't have policies, and without policies you cannot have results. So the first challenge, I think, is to train the manpower to gather data and train it in light of massive expansion of the conditions of disability in 7 to 21. Secondly, with the downsizing of the state, with state playing a less dominant role in all sectors, including employment, I think we cannot afford simply to rely on or fall back on reservations. It is important that private sector is motivated, inspired, sensitized to take into account the productivity of the people with disabilities. And I think organizations like Enabling India uh, are doing a great job, and it is important that we have more such organizations. People with disabilities also have to clearly understand is that no longer they can merely hope for a government job, because government do not have jobs any longer. So it is important that they gear up to be a competitive force, be a competitive lot, to claim their uh, due in the private sector. Thirdly, with AI, artificial intelligence, can we really make any difference in our lives? Can we use artificial intelligence to somehow harness ourselves, our productivity? When I say this, I should not be confused. Mean that I'm trying to uh, look at people with disabilities as transhuman. No, not at all. But can we say no to AI all the time? Can we say no to having knowledge of technology? Can we say no to use of gadgets? Can we simply keep on saying that, okay, because of my condition, I cannot do this or cannot do that? So I believe that now law also imposes obligation on the state and the establishments to provide all the gadgets to the people with disabilities so that they can enhance their productivities. And in this light, it is important for PWDs to move forward and show up to the cause of equipping themselves with technology. Lastly, I would like to say that what I generally observe is the lack of ambition. Although I clearly accept the fact that we are really privileged. Person like me, sitting in a very big university like National Law School India University, can easily lecture anybody to be ambitious. I know that. I am in a position of privilege. But nevertheless, merely blaming me or just focusing on my privilege probably will not help the cause. Although, to an extent, I I stand entirely on a different footing, and that fact cannot be lost sight of. I admit that. But should you simply focus on the privileges of the people, or should you focus on the fact that if we want to make a difference in society as well as in our lives, we have to do something different. Just cannot hope that okay, some we will be having some job somewhere and that's it. Just getting 2 meals a day, although it is important to get 2 meals a day, but just should we stop at getting 2 meals a day, or should we have more ambitions? So my request to all my disabled friends, all my disabled brothers and sisters would be ignite themselves, restart themselves, motivate themselves, to incentivize themselves by looking at number of role models. For example, Rahul Bajaj, the road scholar who is looked at by people like Justice Chandrachud with great awe, right? I, for example, see him a High Court judge, right? My teacher, Dr. Deshpande, who is no longer with us, but how how, ex, extraordinary his persona was, and how hugely he has inspired not only the disabled but a whole lot of students. So we have to look at these role models that in times to come we would not confine ourselves to petty desires. When you dream big, then probably you can achieve a little bit. So again, without taking much of your time, I know today is a busy day for all of us. So I would like to again wish all of you a very happy World Disabled Day. I would expect Bhumika Trust to not confine their activities just to this particular day, but maybe to have more such programs on a regular basis. And I congratulate them for taking up this initiative. And I thank the organization for invitation as well as the audience for giving me a patient hearing. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. We will, if anyone has their questions from sir, you can just put in the chat box, and later on we can send it to you, sir. If you don't have any issues, and if someone has any questions.
Yes, if anybody has any question right now, I can answer. Otherwise, you can send me.
Okay, sure. So you can text in the Zoom chat. So, okay, sir, I think so we can proceed further, and thank you so much for your presence. It was very lovely hearing you. So I must say it was very insightful and informative session that we have of yours. So we have the other speakers waiting in the line, sir. So my deepest apologies that I had to stop you in between.
No.
So I may request my host, the co-host Arushi, to please take it over and just introduce our next speaker, Mr. T.D. Dharial.
Sure. Sri Thakur Dutt Dharyal joined as the Commissioner for Persons with Disabilities, Government of NCT of Delhi on 17th March 2017. Immediately before that, he was Advisor Disability Inclusion and Mainstreaming in CBM, a Germany-based disability and development organization of more than 100 years standing, working for persons with disabilities in his passion. He has been actively working to help persons with disability to secure their rights and entitlements, and the organization to implement laws and policies for empowerment of persons with disabilities. Sir, the mic is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I am really indebted to Bhumika Trust for having given me this opportunity to interact, to discuss a few things, topics on the rights of persons with disabilities act on this very, very auspicious day of the International Day of Persons with Disabilities, 2022. As you know, the theme of this year's International Day of Persons with Disabilities is transformative solutions for inclusive development, the role of innovation in fueling an accessible and equitable world. It's so apt in today's world that it's most important for all of us to understand that the inclusion is the key one, and then we have to find the innovative things, innovative policies, make schemes and programs that really transform the mindset of the people across the world and see no difference between people with or without disabilities. We have to accept the entire, say, people, the population, from a diversity lens. Celebrate the diversity, accept the people with the whatever diversity. One of these diversities is disability, as they are. So that is what we need, because there are a lot of challenges and the solutions perhaps are very, very simple. It is innovation can happen at home, innovation can happen in the school, can happen in the university, can happen in big, big institutions, universities. And we have to make everything accessible. Without accessibility, nothing can be provided equitably. And the topic that I have been given to speak on is very, very much relevant to what the theme of 2022 International Day of Persons with Disability is. That is, central and state advisory boards, then district level committee on persons with disabilities, the Chief Commissioner for Persons with Disabilities and State Commissioner for Persons with Disabilities, and then offences and penalties. I will add to it the special courts also. I will quickly go through because the time is very limited. I need to move on to another program of National Association for the Blind in Delhi, and we have the national award distribution function. So, friends, the central and state advisory boards are actually part of a scheme of things in the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act. Similar was in the Persons with Disabilities Act 1995 also, but this time it's a more comprehensive, more inclusive. So this, if I look at the scheme of things in the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, it is framing the policies, making the legislation, developing programs and schemes, implementing them, and if there is some problem, grievance redressal. Penalize the people who don't comply. So this is what the circle, this is where the circle completes. Make act, legislation, policy, programs, implement, and then grievance redressal, and if necessary, penalty. So the central and state government, the role of central board for disability in the central government, and similarly the state boards in each state. The primary function of these boards is to develop policy at central level and also at state level. An important thing about this is the constitution of the central and state boards is that it is headed by the cabinet minister, the minister in charge of disability in the center as well as in the state. The state minister, they will be chairpersons, and the deputy minister or the state minister in the central government will be the vice chair. Then secretary of the department dealing with the disability in the center. In our case, in India, the central government, it is the Secretary Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities. In the states, whoever is the secretary, it may be the social welfare department, it may be disability affairs, whatever. So the secretary, ministers, and the secretaries of all the relevant departments or ministries, railways, say health, education, rural development, all Department of Personnel and Training, the secretaries of those departments and members. Niti Aayog secretary is the member. All the national institutes are the members. And for making it inclusive, at least 10 persons will represent the NGOs, preferably persons with disabilities. And 5 are experts, have to be experts on disability and rehabilitation. So this is the constitution, and the members of the 3 members of parliament in central government and members of state legislature in the state. This is the constitution of broadly of central and state boards, which means and all the national institutes on disability also. So this makes this board the most powerful and all inclusive. The board can has the people from all the departments, whatever the policy. So then and there, they should be able to decide on, say, for example, railways, what policy should be there for people with disabilities, diverse disabilities, not one disability, 21 disabilities. Since minister is the head, so this happens to be most powerful, most decisive. Now let us talk about what they are supposed to do. They are supposed to come out with a policy, national policy, that is central board will come out with a national policy on persons with disabilities. The state boards will come out with a state policy on persons with disabilities. Various schemes, what kind of schemes are to be made for people with disabilities to ensure that the people with disabilities get their rights? What are the changes that the act or the legislation requires? What programs should be there? What schemes should be there? Then, because the secretaries from different departments who are responsible for implementation, the implementing machinery is also there, how they should be implemented, then they will monitor what has been the impact of this act, what has been the impact of the policy, what has been the impact of the schemes. So state board and central board will monitor the implementation, the impact of schemes and programs, and the law also, if necessary, modify it, review, and ask the concerned different departments to make particular policies. That is the role, that is the constitution, role and functions of the central and state boards on disability. So they are the most powerful entity, and they have the wherewithal to change the law, change the rules, monitor and implement. See that everything is accessible. This is also specifically written that the accessibility they have to ensure, they have to look at the accessibility of various things. Now, the second similar kind of arrangement is district level committee under the chairpersonship of the district collector. At the district level, there will be district level committee, and that district level committee will look into the grievances of people with disabilities at the district level. Say every department in this act, every government establishment is supposed to have a grievance redressal officer. So if the grievance redressal officer receives a complaint, that person will examine it, investigate it, submit a report to the head of the establishment. And if the person with disability is not satisfied with the decision of the or examination of the GRO and the decision of the head of the establishment, then the complainant or the person with disability can file a complaint with the district level committee, and they are supposed to dispose of within 60 days. So this is the arrangement at the district level, that is district level committee. The important thing is that this is the arrangement in the Act. One, these central boards and the state boards and the district level committees must be formed. As the disability organization activists, you have to do that advocacy. Ask the government and the state government to constitute those boards. Number two, very important thing, that these central and state boards and the district level committees must meet. They should have the meetings. Central board and state boards are supposed to meet every 6 months. Every 6 months they should have meeting. That is mandatory. If they don't, then please, every one of you should take an initiative and ask the central government or the state government to ensure that these meetings happen. Similarly, if somebody goes to the district level, prompt people, inform people that these are the arrangements, you can file your complaint. Then I come to the arrangement in this act for Chief Commissioner for Persons with Disabilities and State Commissioner for Persons with Disabilities. I was very fortunate that I had the opportunity to work in both these institutions. I was Deputy Chief Commissioner for Persons with Disabilities. Before the Act came, RPWD Act came, and after that I was State Commissioner in Delhi. The primary duty function of the Chief Commissioner and the State Commissioner in the state, Chief Commissioner in the central government, is to look into the complaints of the people with disabilities relating to deprivation of their rights. They also have that similar functions, similar powers, same powers. There is no difference. Therefore, I am not taking up these things separately. Either central government as a chief commissioner or the state commissioner. Their duties are to see that the laws made for the benefit, laws, programs, etc., made for the benefit of people with disabilities are implemented. People with disabilities' rights are not infringed. Look into the complaints. Whenever there is anybody who complains, look into that complaint. Deal with them according to the rules. How to examine, how to take up, how to pass an order, and monitor implementation. And then the Chief Commissioner and State Commissioner also have the power to take suo motu notice of any violation. It is not necessary that there is a complaint, then only the State Commissioner or the Chief Commissioner will take up the matter. They can take up any matter if they see or have, if they are convinced that yes, prima facie, there is a violation of the law. In fact, in the Chief Commissioner's office, when I was Deputy Chief, almost 50% of the complaints registered in that office, and same in the State Commissioner Disability Office, used to be suo motu cases. We used to scan the newspaper, employment news. Whenever we would see that there is no provision for reservation for persons with disabilities, we would issue a show cause notice, ask the explanation, reply, call them, issue the summons, call them, hold a hearing, pass an order, get it implemented. That is the process. So that is suo motu. Say if I went somewhere, say in government offices and all this, if I found that these places are not accessible, I would often issue a show cause notice. Ask them at so-and-so place, so-and-so ATM is not accessible, so-and-so school is not accessible. Simple, I mean, major things first, hospital. So because I strongly believe accessibility is primary. If there is no accessibility, nothing can happen. So for availing any right, accessibility is important. So they have got, that is the biggest power of the state commissioner, the chief commissioner, to ensure that the people with disabilities get their rights. Another very important thing is that they have got the power of civil court. Like I said, issue show cause notice, summon, hearing, and pass order. In the chief commissioner, there is a chief commissioner. Then there are two commissioners. Chief commissioners will be of the rank of secretary, and the commissioners will be rank of additional secretary. Unfortunately, we do not have full-time chief commissioner and state commissioner. And unfortunately, again, none of the organizations, none of the activists has ever represented why we do not have chief commissioner and commissioners. Many state governments do not have full-time commissioners. Why are you not? Why are we not representing? Why are we not filing complaints in the courts? If you do not do that, then I think I am being very harsh. We have no right to ask for our rights. If you do not demand your rights, and if somebody doesn't give your right, then perhaps your case is very weak. I'm wondering that we do not have the chief commissioner today. We do not have commissioner, full-time commissioner disability in central government. We do not have the chairperson of the Rehabilitation Council of India Act. We do not have a chairperson of National Trust for so many years. Yet there is no reaction from the sector, from the people with disabilities for whom these arrangements have been made. So, gentlemen, the chief commissioner, the state commissioner should be monitoring the implementation of the act, should be monitoring the implementation of the schemes and programs. If there is gap, take up with the concerned authorities. They make in their orders, in their letters, they, as per the act, have to make a recommendation. Many people said recommendation करने से कोई ज़्यादा effective है, ऐसी बात नहीं है. उसमें ये भी लिखा है कि अगर recommendation आपने किया, state commissioner, chief commissioner ने उस recommendation को 3 महीने के अंदर implement करना है. Concerned authority ने अगर implement नहीं करेंगे, तो they will have violated the act. और वायलेशन के बाद जो नेक्स्ट ऑफेंसेस एंड पेनल्टीज में होगा, वो पेनल्टी लग सकती है. सो वो बहुत ही बड़ा टूल है, बहुत ही बड़ा ये प्रावधान है कि विद इन 3 months दे हैव टू इम्प्लीमेंट. अगर वो इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं कर पाते तब भी वो 3 महीने के मैं उनको ये बताना पड़ेगा कि दिस इज द रीजन व्हाई वी कांट इम्प्लीमेंट. अगर स्टेट कमिश्नर और चीफ कमिश्नर बहुत ही इंटेलिजेंटली काम करते हैं, केयरफुली काम करते हैं, रीजनेबल ऑर्डर देते हैं, तो किसी को भी इतनी हिम्मत नहीं होगी कि उसको नहीं इम्प्लीमेंट करेंगे. क्यों? अगर आप इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं किया, आप ये बोलते हैं नहीं मैंने किया, और पार्टी जो कंप्लेनेंट है वो हाई कोर्ट जाता है, सुप्रीम कोर्ट जाता है, द कोर्ट्स विल नॉट स्पेयर दैट डिपार्टमेंट और दैट ऑफिसर. सो देयरफॉर दीज इंस्टीट्यूशंस आर वेरी, आई पर्सनली फील, मैंने तो टेस्ट करके देखा, पहले भी मैं सोचता कि डिपेंड करता है कौन कमिश्नर है, कौन चीफ कमिश्नर है, कितने पावरफुल आप है, यू डोंट नो, कांट इमेजिन. मैं अक्सर बोलता हूँ, अगर मैं डिप्टी चीफ कमिश्नर था, लोग मुझे बोलते थे मैंने प्रमोशन भी छोड़ दिया, सब कुछ छोड़ दिया, उधर रह गया. मैंने कहा मुझे अभी भी महसूस होता है, अगर मुझे आप सेक्रेटरी टू गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया बना दें, तो मैं जो काम कर सकता हूँ एज डिप्टी चीफ कमिश्नर, स्टेट कमिश्नर, वो नहीं कर सकता था. एज ए सेक्रेटरी यू कांट डू, एज chief commissioner, as deputy chief commissioner, as I think not deputy chief, but then fortunately I had that opportunity to be working very independently. कर सकते हैं. So that इसका फायदा उठा. Now I'm coming to offenses and penalties. ये हमारा एक्ट बहुत ही मजबूत है, बहुत अच्छा है. ये बहुत अच्छा मुझे लगता है कि बिना इससे कभी होता नहीं, मेरे डंडे से हमने. So सेक्शन 89 से लेकर के 93 तक इस एक्ट में प्रावधान है हमारा पेनल्टीज का. सेक्शन 89 और 90 ये बोलते हैं कि एनीबडी, अगर कोई भी इस एक्ट के या किसी रूल के पॉलिसी के कोई इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं करते, कॉन्ट्रवीन करते हैं, they will be liable to be punished, fined minimum 10,000 rupees. Second time, if they repeat, not less than 50,000 fine, and it can be up to 5 lakhs. If it is done by individual, this is the fine. If it is done by a company, then the concerned director, concerned owner, concerned whatever किस डिपार्टमेंट ने किया, तो कंसर्न ऑफिसर जो उस समय रिस्पॉन्सिबल था विल बी फाइंड. देन वी हैव इफ समबडी tries to take the benefits of a person with disability but is not, then there is a penalty. If anybody abuses a person with disability, stops giving food, it could be pay. Why I'm saying this is, it could be a family, own family. There are instances, many people have properties, they are not interested in keeping that person alive. So if therefore these provisions have been made. If the food is not properly given, if the person is tortured, if the person is abused, if the person is a person with disability is exploited, a woman with disability, अभी इससे पहले intersectionality बोल रहे थे, that is very very important. Women with disabilities have a larger, greater disadvantage and more vulnerable to discrimination. So इस तरह का होता तो then person can be jailed and fined both. And if some officer, some department does not provide the information and the documents that are sought by the concerned authorities, here in this case it could be Chief Commissioner, State Commissioner, or the grievance redressal officer, district level committee. If they ask for some information and they don't give, they don't delay the information, like RTI में आप information मांगते हैं, नहीं मिलता है तो आपको फाइन लगता है, 250 रुपया रोड का मिलता है. इधर पे क्या है, 25,000 rupees, and for every day's delay it is 1,000. It is very very stringent provision, as according to me. So the act is very powerful. It has to be implemented. It should be implemented because every provision in this act is mandatory. Anything that is mandatory has to be implemented. If it is not implemented, if this doesn't have, who will punish, who will fine? Then we have a provision for special courts. Every state government has to appoint, designate one special court for each district, and then also appoint special prosecutor to fight the case of a person with disability. So अगर ये नहीं होता है, कोई infringement होता है, a person with disability or state commissioner or the chief commissioner can inform the special court, look, here is I investigated, I have found that there is a violation of the so and so provision, therefore please proceed against them, fine them for fining or penalizing them. So that special court has to activate. Now this all अपने आप नहीं होगा, हम सबको ये सब चीज करनी पड़ेगी. I don't know how many of you are aware, Commissioner of Haryana, State Commissioner of Haryana, who is to interact with each other, fined some 26 or some district education officers for not appointing people with disabilities or doing something. And he fined, and all these education officers have to deposit that money in the treasury. And the State Commissioner of Haryana has been given today he will be, I think, awarded, conferred national. So if any state commissioner, so therefore I feel that state commissioners and the chief commissioners have tremendous power, provided they really genuinely work to implement, do their job. खाली घूमने से नहीं होता, खाली कमिटी ये करने से नहीं होता है, अवेयरनेस करने का काम डिपार्टमेंट का है. The state commissioner and the chief commissioner should ask the departments to create awareness. There is no need for me to go. नहीं करते एक एग्जांपल कर दो. फॉर एग्जांपल इन दिल्ली आई डिड व्हाट आई डिड इज for MLAs, for officers, conducted the workshop. Then I asked you conduct a program for yourself. इस तरह की चीजें हैं. तो with these words, I think I will stop here. I'm thankful again. And in case you have any queries, please do ask me. You can send. You have my email ttdharyal@gmail.com. Even otherwise, I have my telephone number open 24 hours. 9818825348. Please ask for anything, anytime. If I can help, I'll be there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Arushi, please take it off.
So our next panelist is Shruti Pushkarna, Director Programs and Communications. Score Foundation is an experienced communication manager with a demonstrated history of working in the non-profit organization management industry. Ma'am, the mic is yours.
Hi. First of all, a small correction. I no longer work with Score Foundation. I represent Enable India. Anyway, a warm welcome to all of you and greetings on the International Day of Persons with Disabilities to all of you. I would, apart from the topic that I've been assigned and, taking you briefly through the sections of the RPWD Act, I would like if there are people, the participants who would like to ask me questions and if we can make this more interactive. That's something I would prefer. Very interesting conversations have happened before me, Mr. Jain and Mr. Dharyal, who've both highlighted how powerful this act is and how stringent the laws are if implemented, if only implemented well. But I think the onus of implementation, as much as it lies with the agencies of authorities, of the implementers at district level, state level, central level, the onus also lies with us who are asking for rights as persons with disabilities, as advocates for persons with disabilities, as supporters and non-profits working to support the empowerment of persons with disabilities. And for that, I think each one of us has to be very, very aware of the provisions. I often come across people who are not aware of several provisions and therefore don't know, it's in their right to ask for it. So I'll very quickly stick to the topic here and come to the special provisions that have been listed under section 6 and the chapter 6, which is for education and employment. And as I'm sure a lot of you will be aware that there is free education that has been listed for children with benchmark disabilities, and by benchmark we understand 40% or above. So what it ensures, so before I get into the specifics, education and employment are two areas that are going to ease the burden of mainstreaming from any of the stakeholders. If we allow, and we have a law that helps us do that, if we allow equal entry, equal opportunity to education and employment, persons with disabilities will not need the external support or the reservations that we are asking for in the times to come. And that's what, I really hope for as somebody who supports the community, that you give them a chance to exhibit the abilities and focus and change the focus from the disability to the ability part. So when you give equal access to education, what happens is that you're also interacting with the general students. They're also interacting with teachers and the parents of the general students, which is a great mode of sensitization that happens at a peer level. And it's the impact of that is very, very high as compared to any training or skilling interventions, I feel. Because at the end of the day, we have to use the law to be able to see and include persons with disability in every aspect of living, whether it is education or employment. So anyway, coming back to the chapter 6, the law states that every child with benchmark disability between the age of 6 to 18 will have the right to free education in a neighborhood school. And now this is not necessarily a special education mode. It's not just a special school. It could be any other mainstream school also, the authorities cannot deny. This is stated. Then there is also, of course, the idea is to pursue the education up to the higher education level. And there are, and as you know, there are also several scholarships and provisions, welfare schemes that persons with disabilities avail to be able to get to that level, because a lot of persons with disabilities also face financial constraints. We are very well aware of that. Then once you finish your education, then there's a section there in identification of posts for reservation in group A, B, C, D as per the government jobs, the categories. There are different posts that have been identified as per different disabilities. Now the disabilities earlier on, we know that there were very few included, and now it's gone up to the number has gone up to 21. So one part of that category is blindness and low vision. It will be identified. The posts of jobs under the government jobs under group A, B, C, and D category will be identified for blindness and low vision. Similarly for deaf and hard of hearing. Then also for locomotor disability, including cerebral palsy, leprosy cured, dwarfism, acid attack victims, and muscular dystrophy. Then the fourth part is neurodiversity, what we call it today, which includes people who are on the autism spectrum, persons with intellectual disabilities, or any other mental illnesses or specific learning disabilities. Posts are reserved under the government categories of A, B, C, and D for this specific category of persons with disabilities as well. Then the last one is multiple disabilities from, any of the combinations of all the four that I have spoken about, like deaf blindness is one example. And there could be a person who has cerebral palsy and some developmental disorder or something. So any combination, that is the last category that is reserved for different posts that are the jobs are identified for different posts. And this is only strictly, we are talking about the government sector right now. And like Mr. Dharial had said, that in case all of these, if they are not listed, if the employment exchange, in the employment news, you see that the jobs are lacking the provision for the disabled quota, then you are well within your right to flag it off to the state commissioner, to the chief commissioner, to seek for that reservation. A lot of times, here I would like to digress a little bit and tell you of an incident that many incidents that have come to light is that a lot of times jobs are not reserved. First of all, if they are reserved, then they're also, when you apply for a certain post in a certain location, a preferred location, a person with disability is also given the preference in terms of the location that they need, what will suit their needs, because we have mobility challenges, we have financial constraints, etc. So what happens in that case is that the reasonable accommodation provision is there, that you can ask for a preferred location, you can ask for a accommodation which is closer to the place of posting, etc., etc. But a lot of cases in the recent month actually have come to light. I have personally encountered where people were denied. Like if I've applied for a government teacher's job in, let's say, with the location preference of Delhi, I have been posted in Rajasthan or Chandigarh for that matter. So that, if you bring to the attention of the Department of Personal Training, and you bring to their attention and you write an application to them, that can be corrected, because it has been corrected in the last couple of cases that I have been involved with. So there is that provision. I'm just making you all aware of it. Then there are also incentives that are given to the employers in private sector. So they are basically the government of India provides incentives to employers in the private sector to ensure that at least 5% of their workforce is composed of persons with benchmark disability. Again, this is the government's and the RPWD's intention of seeing more and more persons with disability in the mainstream space. And this not only gives them equal opportunity, but also an equal chance for the non-disabled world to interact and sensitize and also empathize and understand that there is more beyond disability. Then there are certain special schemes also and development programs also listed under this, but I'll because in the interest of time, I will move to the next chapter, which is about special provisions for persons with disabilities with high support needs. So special provisions for persons with disability with high support, any person with benchmark disability, who considers himself to be in need of high support, or any person or organization on his or her behalf may apply to an authority to be notified by the appropriate government requesting to support high need. Now, how that happens? Is that there's a process to it. You have to apply under this section. You have to apply for that special requirement. And then there's an assessment board that is in place, that will go through the application and assess your high support need, whether it's legit or not legit. There'll be questions asked, etc. So there are authorities to do that. And then after the assessment is done, is completed, is verified, then the person is granted that uh, high support need. Like I said, I'm open to take questions regarding this, and if you have any experiences that you want to share and discuss, it'll be great to have that. I'll quickly wrap up also the last chapter, which is the certification. Now, what happens is that education and employment we've talked about. We've talked about the reservations in this area so that we can include persons with disabilities in schools, in higher education, in jobs. But what happens? How do you even get there? You have to first certify your disabilities, right? So there are, like we say, we have 21 disabilities listed. So you have to apply for a certification, and there's a process of certification. Now we all know UDID is the latest thing, and there are the ups of UDID, and then there are the challenges and implementation of your UDID. That's one area that I would like to interact with the audience and understand where they are in their process of UDID, because I learn more from the ground level cases. Then, so basically what it does is that there are guidelines that are given for assessment of specified disabilities. So they'll be separate for each of the 21 types of disabilities. And there is a certified authority and the jurisdiction. So close to where you are, where your address, where your Aadhaar card is from, where your permanent address identification is, there's a jurisdiction under which the local authority, the hospital, etc., will be identified for you to go and assess that. Now, a lot of people already have disability certificates, and in the online process, what is listed basically, I don't know how functional it is for different people. It's been the different cases in different states, that you go online, submit your old disability certificate application, and then you get the UDID. But that's not the reality. The reality is that you still have to go to a CMO, the chief medical officer in your jurisdiction, the hospital in your jurisdiction, and get a certification and assessment again. But you should be aware of this, the provisions listed under this section, so that you can challenge the authorities when they deny anything to you. There has to be a CMO assigned for that. I have come across also cases, especially with persons with blindness, where they have come back and told us that they're asking for money to be certified, to be issued that certificate. So that is well within your right to deny that, and that call it a bribe thereof, and say that this is the section that lists this, and if you're denying this to me, then please give it to me in writing. A lot of times nobody will give you that response in writing, because once it comes on the record, that you can challenge it to the whole procedure. As Mr. Daria also said, that there's a whole grievance system that has been included in this act. So this section, this chapter 10, also lists the appeal against a decision of certifying authority. So any person aggrieved with the decision, if you do not agree with the decision of the certifying authority, you may appeal against such decision within such time and manner as may be prescribed by the state government to the appellate authority, as the state government may designate on the purpose. So you can take this up. So these are some of the provisions that I was asked to highlight by the host today, which I've highlighted. But I would like to open the stage to questions and interactions with the audience, because I don't understand the group that we have today. I would like to know a little bit more about the group.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi, who's this?
Ma'am, my name is Gautam. I am from Bareilly, Uttar Pradesh.
Yes, Gautam. Hi. A very happy World Disability Day to you, Gautam.
Same to you, ma'am. And ma'am, actually, I have a suggestion that can these the major NGOs like Enable India, Saksham, and NAB, and other all over India can have legal advisor, so that we can access him and he can make us aware and that exercise these rights.
So Gautam, fair point on your behalf, but I don't know if NGOs have the capacity to do that. But the suggestion is that there is there are local, state level and district level agencies under NALSA that give you that provision. So there are very often people who have come from specific districts and states to us, even who have been redirected to these state agencies, who have the wherewithal and the proper legal understanding of taking these matters up, because the NGOs might not be equipped. You need a legal clarity in such matters. Yeah, what NGOs can do is you can go to one of these NGOs who will redirect you to the proper legal agency in that sense.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
And because under the state and the government, not under RPWD, but otherwise, because see, all the other laws also equally apply to persons with disabilities because of the fact that we are equal citizens, right? So there is a lot of overlap with other laws, like the right, the labor rights also apply, right? So if you are challenged in the employment, then as a person with a disability, you can take that act, and also the labor rights will apply. So there are a lot of intersectionalities here. So there are legal agencies for the welfare, which are non-profit based, which the state and the district level will provide a person who is in need of that.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Yeah, I see Pavni. Yes, please, Pavni. Can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Hello, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, Pavni. Please tell me, what is your question?
Talked about reservation for the benchmark disabled in public employment.
Yes.
But we see that benefit, that particular benefit has not been extended to people with neurological disabilities or with blood disorders, whereas they have been recognized within the act itself. Is there any specific reason why that has been done?
It's the lack of awareness and also the ease with which the employer's mind works, right? So what happens is when there is a disability which is easily recognizable and the solutions are available, let's say blindness, and you can provide the communication, etc., within the office space, either in braille or in digital format, etc. Basically, you know how to deal with a disability and you can recognize it, then it's easy to provide for that. But neurodiversity is a space where it's not easily recognizable, especially the neurological disorders that you're talking about, the blood disorders. So it's not easily accepted. So there needs to be more awareness drives. There needs to be more rights demanding from the other side, which will bring about a change. Right now, it's the lack of awareness. It's the absolute ignorance and the absence of empathy is what I, say. This is because this is happening. The more we know about the disability, like I must confess, I've been working in this space for some years now. I am trying to still educate myself with the entire spectrum of neurodiversity. There are so many different types of disabilities, the neurological disorders. So I think we need greater awareness drives, and the fact, which is like, what Mr. Daryl was saying, that we have to demand our rights. We have to really get into action.
I understand, ma'am, but then is this not like discriminatory in itself, like in contravention to the provisions of the act itself?
It is, and it can be challenged as per the grievance redressal system laid out. It can be challenged.
All right, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else who would like to share, if not ask a question, that what has your experience been in terms of any kind of reservations that you've seeked out or used the RPWD provisions for your benefit?
Hello.
Yes, Akash.
Yeah, good evening, ma'am. Actually, I have no question, but I will tell you, like, in rural areas, there are many problems related to like UDID and different things. And I
Where
always.
Are you from, Akash?
Ma'am, I am from Bihar.
Okay.
Yeah. So there are so ma'am, there are very less awareness in this area. So like I always aware everyone, anyone person with disabled come above me, then I will tell him everything about this. So Yeah, so we all have to like spread the awareness and about the accessibility, so it will be more helpful for us.
Yes, I completely agree with you, Akash. We have to take it upon us as a community to
Yes.
spread that awareness and then ask for those rights.
Yeah.
Because I've also experienced in my work that a lot of people are not. Uh, it's not like they're willfully denying it to
Mm.
you. They're also
Yes.
not really aware, and they don't know if even if they get, see, act itself is very. It's a legal document anyway, but
Yes.
small things in the aspects of daily living, at education or employment scenarios, they are not aware of the solutions. So it is also our, I know, the responsibility of including lies with the person who excludes, but I think we'll have to collectively take that responsibility to go forward and say,
Yeah.
okay, let us, wherever you lack the wherever you lack the awareness, we will educate you, and here are the solutions. And that's why it's very important for that positive conversation to start happening, entering the disability narrative,
Yes, ma'am.
that
Yes.
there are several things that are possible, and here's how it's possible. Now what can
Yes.
you do to help us?
Mm. Yeah, ma'am. I also like spreading the awareness in my areas. Like anyone,
Very good.
yeah. So
Yeah, if
yeah.
anything you need, Jayant has my numbers and my email. Jayant request you to please share it with the group. I'm happy to help in any way I can.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, I need help related to the NGO Enable India. So,
Okay,
uh,
we can get in
yeah,
touch offline. Yeah.
yeah. Yes, yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
So a lot of people are very much interested to talk
Mm.
with you. Let's have more people in, because although the floor was not open till yet. So any more
Yeah,
questions or
yeah.
suggestions from the audience? I think
Or
some more
maybe in the
suggestions
interest of,
are coming in
yeah,
the text
sorry,
box.
sorry.
One, if you could check once that
Yeah,
will be.
let me just see. Let me just check. Let me just check. Okay. No, they're asking for the details, etc. So, yeah, like I said, I can give. Please share my details, because today is a packed time. People are going from event to event, and I'm sure Kanchan ma'am is here, and I don't want to keep her waiting. So she's probably the next speaker, and I would also love to listen to her myself. So I think we can move on, Jayant, and you can share my number and email. I'll take the questions offline, and I would
Yeah,
like to
sure,
take
I'm
the
sure.
interactions
In
offline.
any case, if you want, you can just send your details in the chat box. That will be great for
I
everyone
can do
else.
that. I can do
Sure,
that right now. Yes,
sure.
I can. Yeah,
You.
sure. Thank you, Bhumika Trust, for inviting me. And it is always lovely to interact with the new group and with the community itself. I learn more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Uh, Now I would request the next speaker to be called up. Now I request Namrata, are you there? If you could
Yes, I'm
introduce
here.
our next speaker. Yeah, please introduce the next speaker.
Okay, good afternoon. Okay. Now I would like to introduce Danish Mahajan. He is the founder of Radio Uran, first ever internet community radio station in India run by persons with disability. His journey started at a very young age as a disability activist, and he's uh, the well-known journalist who do a show on Sunday on disability issues called Badalta Daur at 9 p.m. On radio station, where he invites immense personalities of disability communities and spread awareness as much as possible. He and his team has organized six national convention to enhance the work of Radio Iran. For the first time in history, his team also organized an Uran Idol. This is an event received warm welcome within the community. He has received few awards as well. One of his Nab Madhu Sharma Young Achiever Award 2020. Now, I would like to welcome you, sir. The stage is yours.
Thank you so much. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Danish, you're audible.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. And I congratulate and wish everybody a very happy World Disability Day. And this is not an ordinary day for us. It is not a day as like other days on the calendar. It has significance. And let's take plunge on this day where the theme suggests transformative solution for inclusive development, the role of innovation in fueling an accessible and equitable world. तो हम सभी को ये इस दिशा में काम करना चाहिए. हर रोज हर साल कोई थीम आता है, लेकिन वो थीम कागजों में रह जाता है, कुछ काम उस पर होता है, लेकिन उस थीम के ऊपर जो ज्यादातर बात होती है सिर्फ वर्ल्ड डिसेबिलिटी डे वाले दिन ही होती है. तो बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग इस साल का थीम है. होप हम सभी इस पे काम करेंगे. अब टॉपिक पे आते हैं. दो चैप्टर मुझे दिए गए हैं, सेक्शन 4 एंड सेक्शन 5. दोनों में कुछ बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स हैं. चैप्टर 4 है एम्प्लॉयमेंट, स्किल डेवलपमेंट एंड एम्प्लॉयमेंट. इस पे बात करेंगे हम, लेकिन एक्ट को समझने के लिए मैं सबसे ये रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि डेफिनेशन पार्ट को एक बार जरूर पढ़े, क्योंकि हर शब्द का इसमें बहुत इंपॉर्टेंस है. कई जगह पे आपको मिलेगा प्राइवेट एस्टेब्लिशमेंट, कई जगह पे आपको मिलेगा गवर्नमेंट एस्टेब्लिशमेंट, कई जगह पे अकेला एस्टेब्लिशमेंट मिलेगा. तो जब भी आप एक्ट को पढ़े, कई सेक्शन ऐसे जिनको रूल्स के साथ पढ़ना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. अभी मैं उस पर आऊंगा. तो शुरू करते हैं. मैं भी चाहूंगा, जैसे लास्ट स्पीकर मैम ने ओपन फ्लोर रखा, तो आपको हम इंटरेक्ट करें. मैं जल्दी से कोशिश करूंगा जो मेन पॉइंट्स हैं हम उस पर बात करें. सेक्शन 19 है स्किल डेवलपमेंट के ऊपर. ये एक स्टैंड अलोन सेक्शन है इस पूरे चैप्टर में जो स्किल डेवलपमेंट की बात करता है. इसमें मोटा मोटा यही कहा गया है कि गवर्नमेंट को इस तरह की स्कीम्स बनानी चाहिए जो वोकेशनल ट्रेनिंग हो, उसको प्रमोट करे, सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयमेंट को प्रमोट करे फॉर पर्सन्स विद डिसेबिलिटीज. उनको कंसेशनल लोन दिए जाएं, उनको मेन स्ट्रीम जो इंक्लूसिव वर्ल्ड में फॉर्मल और नॉन फॉर्मल जो ट्रेनिंग है वो उसके लिए स्कीम्स बनानी चाहिए. और इसमें खास बात एक ये है कि मार्केट लिंक जो डेवलपमेंटल डिसेबिलिटीज है, ऑटिज्म है, जो मल्टीपल डिसेबिलिटीज है, अगर वो कोई प्रोडक्ट तैयार करना चाहते हैं सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयमेंट में, तो उनको कंसेशनल रेट्स दिए जाएं और साथ ही साथ एक ई मार्केट लिंक किया जाए उनको कि उनके प्रोडक्ट मार्केट में बिके भी. तो ये स्टैंड अलोन सेक्शन है स्किल डेवलपमेंट के ऊपर. अभी जीएसटी आ गई है, ये भी कहा गया कि जो उन्हें प्रोडक्ट बनाने हैं उसमें उन्हें कंसेशनल रेट्स पे मटेरियल अवेलेबल करवाया जाए. बट अब जीएसटी आने के बाद ये कितनी रियलिटी है दिखता नहीं है, और अभी तक ऐसी कुछ स्कीम्स बहुत आई भी नहीं है जो ये इस सेक्शन के बारे में कहा जाता है कि गवर्नमेंट को करना चाहिए. इंक्लूजन की बात की गई है कि हर जगह मेन स्ट्रीम में इंक्लूजन होना चाहिए सभी ट्रेनिंग्स में, वोकेशनल ट्रेनिंग हो या स्किल डेवलपमेंट हो. सेक्शन 20 आते हैं, ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट सेक्शन है. तो इसमें जो सेक्शन 20 कह रहा है, इसका जो सब सेक्शन भी है वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. नो गवर्नमेंट एस्टेब्लिशमेंट shall discriminate person merely on the basis of disability. इस जो पिछला हमारा 1995 का एक्ट था उसमें एक ब्रॉड चैप्टर था कि नॉन डिस्क्रिमिनेशन को लेके, कि आपकी एजुकेशन में नॉन डिस्क्रिमिनेशन नहीं होना चाहिए, एम्प्लॉयमेंट में नहीं होना चाहिए. लेकिन यहाँ पे जो हमारे एक्टिविस्ट थे जो इस ड्राफ्ट को फ्रेम कर रहे थे, तो एक ये सेक्शन पर्टिकुलरली नॉन डिस्क्रिमिनेशन इन एम्प्लॉयमेंट की यहाँ पे फोकस देके बात की गई है. उसका कारण शायद ये है कि पिछले 20-30 सालों में हालांकि डिस्क्रिमिनेशन तो हर एरिया में है, लेकिन एम्प्लॉयमेंट में आए दिन हमें डिस्क्रिमिनेशन देखने को मिलता है, चाहे ट्रांसफर को हो, चाहे प्रमोशन को लेके हो, चाहे रिक्रूटमेंट में लेके हो. तो इसलिए शायद इस सेक्शन में फोकस किया गया है कि एम्प्लॉयमेंट, नॉन डिस्क्रिमिनेशन इन एम्प्लॉयमेंट पे फोकस किया. इसमें साथ में ये भी कहा है कि अगर किसी डिपार्टमेंट को लगता है कि कोई काम कोई पर्टिकुलर डिसेबिलिटी नहीं कर सकती, तो वो एग्जाम्प्ट कर सकते हैं उसको, वो उस पोस्ट को वो दूसरी डिसेबिलिटी को भी दे सकते हैं, लेकिन वो एक नोटिफिकेशन के थ्रू होना चाहिए. ऐसा नहीं कि किसी ने बोल दिया वो हो गया. इसके जो सब सेक्शन है वो बड़े इंपॉर्टेंट है. इसका सेक्शन कहता है कि सबको रीजनेबल अकोमोडेशन प्रोवाइड करवाना है. ताकि एक जो बैरियर फ्री एटमॉस्फेयर एम्प्लॉयज को मिले और वो कंस्ट्रक्टिव हो सके। किसी पर्सन को नो प्रमोशन कैन शैल बी डिनाइड ऑन द बेस ऑफ डिसेबिलिटी, किसी को प्रमोशन का राइट उससे नहीं छीना जा सकता। अगर कोई काम करते डिसेबल्ड हो जाता है, उसका आप रैंक रिड्यूस नहीं कर सकते, आप उसे निकाल नहीं सकते। ये बड़ी क्रूशियल, इसमें नया एक प्रावधान है। पिछले एक्ट में या इस एक्ट के आने से पहले क्या होता था कि अगर काम करते समय somebody somebody acquires disability during their job, what happens is they call him medically unfit and dispense him from the job. अब ये एक्ट आने के बाद ऐसा नहीं कर सकता कोई भी। यू कैन नॉट कॉल समबडी मेडिकली अनफिट। और इसका एक बड़ा सिग्निफिकेंस रिसेंटली हुआ है, लास्ट ईयर में एक डेढ़ साल में केस आया था। यहाँ पे आंध्र प्रदेश का मेरे को लगता है केस था, जहाँ पे 40-50 ड्राइवर थे, उनकी आई साइट वीक हो गई थी और उनको निकाल दिया था जॉब से कि भाई आप अब इस जॉब के लिए फिट नहीं है। लेकिन बाद में फिर उन्होंने इसको चैलेंज किया और उन सबको फिर उन्होंने दूसरी जगह पे, मतलब ड्राइवर तो नहीं बनाया, लेकिन इस सेक्शन के कारण उन्हें उनकी जॉब रिस्टोर, गवर्नमेंट ने उनकी जॉब रिस्टोर की, उनको उसी डिपार्टमेंट में शायद क्लैरिकल की जॉब पे फिट कर दिया उन्हें, जिस रैंक की जॉब है। तो ये बड़ी पावरफुल प्रोविजन है। अभी केरला में भी कुछ ऐसे इंसिडेंट हुए थे कि डिसेबिलिटी एक्वायर करने के बाद उनको बेनिफिट नहीं दिए जाए थे, तो वहां भी हाई कोर्ट ने क्लियरली कहा कि भाई आप ऐसा नहीं कर सकते। और ये सेक्शन जो है, सेक्शन 20 की हम बात कर रहे हैं, ये सिर्फ गवर्नमेंट एस्टेब्लिशमेंट की बात करता है, डू नॉट टॉक अबाउट प्राइवेट एस्टेब्लिशमेंट। अगर कोई जैसे मैंने बताया कि भाई वो डिसेबल्ड होने के बाद, तो अगर वो उस पोस्ट के लिए वो पोस्ट पे नहीं काम कर सकता, तो आपको सुपर न्यूमरी पोस्ट उसके लिए क्रिएट करनी है, आप उसे निकाल नहीं सकते। अगर आप उस एम्प्लॉय को कहीं भी एडजस्ट नहीं कर सकते हैं डिपार्टमेंट में, और आपने उसको सुपर न्यूमरी पोस्ट पे रखना है जब तक आप पोस्ट क्रिएट नहीं कर लेते, जब वो रिटायर नहीं हो जाता। बहुत सिंपल है। अब ये ट्रांसफर पॉलिसी की इसमें फ्रेम करने की बात की गई है, ये अगेन बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, क्योंकि आए दिन हम देखते हैं कि ट्रांसफर से रिलेटेड प्रॉब्लम सबको आती है। मुझे लगता नहीं है अभी किसी भी स्टेट गवर्नमेंट ने ट्रांसफर पॉलिसी फ्रेम किया पर्टिकुलरली फॉर द डिसेबल्ड। हाँ, लेकिन एक सर्कुलर आया था डीओपीटी का, अगर मैं गलत नहीं हूँ 31 मार्च 2014 या 15 का, लेकिन अभी यूपीएससी ने इसको अडॉप्ट करना शुरू किया है। लेकिन अगेन आपके पास एक्ट है, आप हमेशा, एक्ट का मतलब ये होता है कि अब यू हैव ए लीगल डॉक्यूमेंट एंड यू कैन फाइट फॉर योर राइट। तो ये एक क्रूशियल इशू है, इस पे गवर्नमेंट को काम करने की जरूरत है, हमें भी इसके ऊपर आवाज उठाने की जरूरत है। सेक्शन 21, अब ये पहला जो सेक्शन हम डिस्कस कर रहे थे वो गवर्नमेंट एस्टेब्लिशमेंट के बारे में था, लेकिन सेक्शन 21 इज फॉर ऑल एस्टेब्लिशमेंट। ये इक्वल अपॉर्चुनिटी पॉलिसी नोटिफाई करने की बात करता है। अगर किसी भी डिपार्टमेंट में आपके 20 से ज्यादा एम्प्लॉय है, हालांकि अगर कम भी एम्प्लॉय है तो आपको पॉलिसी, इक्वल पॉलिसी तो बनानी ही है, लेकिन अगर 20 से कम एम्प्लॉयज है तो उनको थोड़ी सी उसमें छूट दी गई है। लेकिन अगर आपके पास 20 एम्प्लॉयज है, उससे ज्यादा है, चाहे वो गवर्नमेंट है प्राइवेट है, और आपको जो भी इक्वल पॉलिसी बनानी है, इक्वल अपॉर्चुनिटी पॉलिसी बनानी है, वो आपको अपनी वेबसाइट पे भी डालनी है। वो पब्लिक डोमेन में होनी चाहिए कि आपने क्या क्या किया है, उनके लिए क्या फैसिलिटीज दे रहे हैं, कितने डिसेबल्ड को रखा है, ये आपको पब्लिकली वेबसाइट पे अपलोड करना, पब्लिक प्लेस में होनी चाहिए। इसमें अगेन इस सेक्शन की जो सिग्निफिकेंस ये है कि इससे पहले सिर्फ विशाखा गाइडलाइंस आई थी जो फीमेल्स के लिए बात करते थे इन जनरल इक्वल अपॉर्चुनिटी पॉलिसी की वर्क प्लेस पे। उसके बाद शायद डिसेबिलिटी एक लौती ऐसी कम्युनिटी है जिसकी इक्वल अपॉर्चुनिटी पॉलिसी बनाने की बात की गई है। अगेन इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, जो भी इसमें प्रिस्क्राइब किया उसको फॉलो करके इक्वल अपॉर्चुनिटी सबने बनानी है। और ये जो पॉलिसी आप बनाओगे इसकी एक कॉपी आपने चीफ मिनिस्टर या स्टेट कमिश्नर के पास भी देनी है। सेक्शन 22 की बात करते हैं, ये मेंटेन रिकॉर्ड करने की बात करता है एवरी एस्टेब्लिशमेंट। अब इक्वल अपॉर्चुनिटी और मेंटेन रिकॉर्ड करने में डिफरेंस ये है कि इक्वल अपॉर्चुनिटी पॉलिसी आपकी प्रमोशन को लेके आप क्या करते हैं, ट्रांसफर पॉलिसी क्या है, उनको क्या फैसिलिटीज दे रहे हैं, सबको वो पब्लिक में होना चाहिए। लेकिन ये जो रिकॉर्ड मेंटेन करने हैं इसको पब्लिक करने की जरूरत नहीं है। आपने किस किस कैटेगरी को वहां रखा है, क्या क्या आगे इन फैसिलिटीज दी हैं। अगला सेक्शन है हर एम्प्लॉयमेंट एक्सचेंज को एक रिकॉर्ड रखना है। पर्सन विद डिसेबिलिटी कौन कौन जॉब सीख कर है, क्या डेटा है। जो भी रिकॉर्ड्स आपने जो मेंटेन किए हैं वो इंस्पेक्शन के लिए ओपन होंगे। जिसको भी अप्रोप्रिएट गवर्नमेंट ने ऑथोराइज किया होगा उसके पास ये राइट है कि वो इंस्पेक्ट कर सके। अगेन सेक्शन 23 जो बात करता है कि ग्रीवेंस एंड रिडर्सल ऑफिसर सबने अपॉइंट करना है, और ये भी एवरी एस्टेब्लिशमेंट की बात करता है। और ये भी चीफ कमिश्नर और स्टेट कमिश्नर को आपने नोटिफाई करना है कि आपने ग्रीवेंस एंड रिडर्सल ऑफिसर बनाया है। ये हम एम्प्लॉयमेंट की बात कर रहे हैं किसी भी एस्टेब्लिशमेंट में। और जो भी ऊपर सेक्शंस की हमने बातें की हैं, अगर कोई भी एस्टेब्लिशमेंट, अगर सेक्शन 20 में हम गवर्नमेंट एस्टेब्लिशमेंट की बात की है, 21-22 में हमने हर एस्टेब्लिशमेंट की बात की है, अगर कोई भी उसको रूल वायलेट करता है तो आप इस ग्रीवेंस और रिडर्सल ऑफिसर को कंप्लेन कर सकते हैं। उसको 2 वीक में इस कंप्लेन का निपटारा करना है। जो ग्रीवेंस एंड रिडर्सल ऑफिसर होगा उसको इसका पूरा मेंटेन करना है रिकॉर्ड। अगर आप सेटिस्फाई नहीं हो तो आपको फिर डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल कमेटी में अप्रोच कर सकते हैं। डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल कमेटी को यहाँ भी हमारे जो ड्राफ्ट करने जो एक्ट थे उन्होंने बड़ा सोच समझ के रखा है कि अगर आपको ग्रीवेंस एंड रिडर्सल ऑफिसर से वो राहत नहीं मिलती है तो आप डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल कमेटी पे जाएं। वो इसलिए जाएं क्योंकि वो नियरेस्ट है, आपको स्पीडी जस्टिस आपको मिले। तो ये कुछ प्रोविजंस थी ये सेक्शन 4 की। देखिए एक्ट तो बहुत लंबा है, अगर सेक्शन वाइज करेंगे, लेकिन समय की मर्यादा के हिसाब से हमें चलना है। तो अगर कुछ आपके डाउट्स होंगे तो उस पर बात करेंगे। तो ये था सेक्शन 20, बहुत चैप्टर 4 और इसकी बात की हमने। ये बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट है। और एक चीज और, अगर जब भी आप सेक्शन 21, 22, 23 को पढ़ें, आपको रूल 8, रूल 9, रूल 10 के साथ पढ़ना पड़ेगा। अदरवाइज आपको ये समझ नहीं, इक्वल अपॉर्चुनिटी पॉलिसी में क्या क्या है, रिकॉर्ड मेंटेनेंस में क्या है, ये रूल 8 और रूल 9 में ही आपको मिलेगा। सिंपली एक्ट में कुछ भी स्पेसिफाई नहीं किया गया, वहां पे आपको नहीं समझ आएगा। और एक जगह अपना सेक्शन 23 में जब बात की गई है तो रूल्स में एक थोड़ी सी गलती हुई है, उन्होंने सेक्शन 20 लिखना था तो सेक्शन 19 लिखा है, वहां पे कंफ्यूज नहीं होना है। सेक्शन चैप्टर 5 पे आ जाते हैं जल्दी से। सोशल सिक्योरिटी, हेल्थ, रिहेबिलिटेशन एंड रिक्रिएशन, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट। और ये सेक्शन सबके लिए है रिगार्डलेस ऑफ डिसेबिलिटी। दिस सेक्शन इज फॉर ऑल, this chapter, sorry, and this is very important, essence of this act. सेक्शन 24 की बात करते हैं इसमें। ये सेक्शन 24 बात करता है एक पर्सन्स विद डिसेबिलिटी अगर इंडिविजुअली और कम्युनिटी में एडिक्वेट स्टैंडर्ड के साथ लाइफ जीने की एक्ट बात करता है कि गवर्नमेंट शैल within the economic capacity formulate such schemes अपनी इकोनॉमिक कैपेसिटी, विद इन द इकोनॉमिक कैपेसिटी एंड डेवलपमेंट। गवर्नमेंट को ऐसी स्कीम बनानी चाहिए ताकि पर्सन्स विद डिसेबिलिटी चाहे इंडिविजुअली, इंडिपेंडेंटली और कम्युनिटी लाइफ इंडिपेंडेंटली एडिक्वेट स्टैंडर्ड के साथ जी सके। इसमें एक बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग चीज है, ये सेक्शन अगर आप देखोगे सेक्शन 24, ये कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के आर्टिकल 21 से मैच करता है, राइट टू लाइफ की बात करता है ये। और इसमें एक इंटरेस्टिंग चीज और है कि जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन का आर्टिकल 21 है, राइट टू लाइफ की जो बात करता है, वो वहां पे नेगेटिव टर्मिनोलॉजी यूज की गई है। वहां पे ये कहा गया कि नो सिटीजन शैल बी डिप्राइव्ड ऑफ राइट टू लाइफ। लेकिन ऐसा यहां नहीं है, यहां पे पॉजिटिव लैंग्वेज यूज की गई है। गवर्नमेंट शैल formulate schemes within their economic capacity so persons with disability could lead independently or in a community a dignified life with the adequate standards। तो ये पॉजिटिव, ये एक बड़ी अचीवमेंट है। आप इंडिविजुअली भी यहाँ पे गवर्नमेंट की जिम्मेवारी है कि कोई भी डिसेबल्ड इंडिविजुअली आराम से जिंदगी जी सके, उसकी मर्जी है, चाहे वो इंडिविजुअल रहना चाहता है, चाहे वो कम्युनिटी में रहना चाहता है। आप गवर्नमेंट से ये डिमांड कर सकते हो। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, कल को किसी के पास शेल्टर नहीं है तो वो गवर्नमेंट को बोल सकता है, ये गवर्नमेंट की जिम्मेवारी है आपको शेल्टर देना। अच्छा, इसमें एक चीज और कही है कि जो भी गवर्नमेंट स्कीम्स है जो सबके लिए है जनरल, उसमें जो पर्सन्स विद डिसेबिलिटी का जो शेयर है वो दूसरों से 25% ज्यादा होना चाहिए। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर जैसे पेंशन है, पेंशन तो सबके लिए है, पेंशन फॉर विडोज, ओल्ड एज पेंशन एंड देन डिसेबिलिटी पेंशन, तो उसमें वी कैन डिमांड our share must be 25% हायर, जहां फिर जो हाउसिंग स्पीड है, हाउसिंग स्कीम है, उसमें 25% हमें ज्यादा देना चाहिए। आपने कोविड में ये चीज देखी होगी कि बहुत सारी ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस ने, इंडिविजुअल एक्टिविस्ट ने डिमांड किया था कि भाई जो फूड है वो 25% ज्यादा होना चाहिए। मतलब अलग अलग जो स्कीम्स है उसमें जो हमारा 25% शेयर ज्यादा होना चाहिए। अगर एक स्टेट में 1,000 रुपये पेंशन है तो हम 1250 डिमांड कर सकते हैं अकॉर्डिंग टू दिस एक्ट। इसमें एक चीज और इंटरेस्टिंग है कि भाई आप जब ये स्कीम फॉर्मुलेट करो, जो भी ये वेलफेयर स्कीम्स हैं, उसमें ये जरूर ध्यान रखें कि ये डाइवर्सिटी होनी चाहिए विद इन द डिसेबिलिटी भी, एज, जेंडर, उनकी इकोनॉमिक कंडीशन क्या है, ये सब। क्योंकि कई बार क्या होता है कि अब डिसेबल्ड है तो कोई रिच भी हो सकता है, तो कोई पुअर भी हो सकता है, तो आपको डाइवर्सिटी मेंटेन करनी है। कम्युनिटी सेंटर्स बनाने की बात की गई है यहाँ पे, हेल्थ और काउंसलिंग उनको प्रोवाइड करवाएं। इसमें है कि जब चाहे वो मैन मेड डिजास्टर हो, चाहे वो नेचुरल डिजास्टर हो, उसमें पूरा उनको सपोर्ट किया जाए हर तरह की। जो चिल्ड्रन की फैमिली है उनके लिए स्कीम्स बनाई जाए, उनको पूरी तरह से सपोर्ट दी जाए। कोविड अब जैसे नेचुरल डिजास्टर था तो इसकी बात की हालांकि गवर्नमेंट पूरी तरह से फेल रही है वो करने में। इसमें एक और इंटरेस्टिंग बात है कि वीमेन विद डिसेबिलिटीज हु हैव डिसेबिलिटी किड्स, उनको सपोर्ट प्रोवाइड करने की बात की गई है। ये अगेन पावरफुल थिंग कि जो डिसेबल्ड फीमेल है, उनके पास बच्चे हैं तो उनको भी गवर्नमेंट ने सपोर्ट करना है। बाकी उनको एक्सेसिबल वाटर, सेफ ड्रिंकिंग वाटर, एक्सेसिबल सैनिटेशन, ये प्रोवाइड करवानी है रूरल और अर्बन एरिया में। एड एंड एम्प्लॉयज प्रोवाइड करवानी है। अगर कोई लिमिटेड मतलब जिनकी इनकम है, जैसे बीपीएल होता है, तो उनको आपने सर्जरी फ्री उनकी होनी चाहिए, उनको मेडिकल असिस्टेंट फ्री मिलना चाहिए। डिसेबिलिटी पेंशन तो मिलती है, वो देनी चाहिए। यहाँ एक चीज बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, सेक्शन एच, एंड आई रिक्वेस्ट एवरीबडी एंड खास तौर पे स्टूडेंट्स को, इसमें ये जो सेक्शन में एच, सब सेक्शन एच है, उसमें बात की गई है कि जो बंदा स्पेशल एक्सचेंज में रजिस्टर करेगा और अगर विद इन द 2 years उनको जॉब नहीं मिलती है तो उनको स्पेशल अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट अलाउंस मिलेगा. I think this is the section we can take maximum advantage of, and I would certainly recommend everybody to register yourself right after 10th standard or 12th. और ये स्पेशल एक्सचेंज में आपको करना है, स्पेशल एम्प्लॉयमेंट एक्सचेंज में, नॉट इन अ जनरल एम्प्लॉयमेंट एक्सचेंज. ये बीआरसी वगैरह में होती है. तो आप ये करके, तो जिन्होंने भी नहीं किया है, जो यहाँ पे कॉलेज के भी हैं, तो डू रजिस्टर योरसेल्फ इन अ स्पेशल एक्सचेंज. केयर गिवर अलाउंस की बात की गई है. जो हाई सपोर्ट नीड है, जिन जो हाई सपोर्ट नीड है उनको केयर गिवर की जरूरत पड़ती है, तो उनको एडिक्वेट अलाउंस देने की बात की है इस सेक्शन में. कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव इंश्योरेंस स्कीम की बात की गई है, जो स्टेट एम्प्लॉयज में नहीं किसी में भी आते. तो अगला सेक्शन 25 है, ये हेल्थ की बात कर रहा है. Appropriate government and local government should take all action to free health care in rural area, especially in rural area जहाँ पे मतलब इकोनॉमिक कैपेसिटी के हिसाब से जो कम्युनिटी जो गवर्नमेंट प्रिस्क्राइब करती है, तो उसके फ्री हेल्थ केयर सबको प्रोवाइड करवाना ये गवर्नमेंट की जिम्मेदारी है. या इसमें एक सेक्शन 25 में सब सेक्शन 2 बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है. इसमें ये कहता है कि बैरियर फ्री एक्सेस इन ऑल पार्ट्स ऑफ प्राइवेट और गवर्नमेंट हॉस्पिटल. जो हॉस्पिटल है उसका हर पार्ट एक्सेसिबल होना चाहिए, बैरियर फ्री होना चाहिए. तो दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. इट्स नॉट ओनली कि भाई आपने ड्रिंकिंग एरिया एक्सेसिबल कर दिया, सिर्फ ऑपरेशन थिएटर कर दिया, जहां आपने कोई हॉल कर दिया. इट सेज ऑल पार्ट्स ऑफ द हॉस्पिटल मस्ट बी एक्सेसिबल. प्रायोरिटी मिलनी चाहिए डिसेबल्ड को ट्रीटमेंट में, उनको अटेंडेंस में या ट्रीटमेंट में. तो जनरली ऐसा होता नहीं है, लेकिन ये कहता है अगर 5 लोग सर्जरी के लिए, अगर उसमें कोई डिसेबल्ड है तो उसको आपको प्रायोरिटी देनी पड़ेगी. इसमें अगला सेक्शन है कि गवर्नमेंट को तमाम वो स्टेप्स लेने चाहिए, ऐसी स्कीम्स बनाने चाहिए, हेल्थ केयर प्रमोट करना चाहिए, और अक्रेंस ऑफ डिसेबिलिटी अर्ली इंटरवेंशन सेंटर्स होने चाहिए, सर्वे करने चाहिए, इन्वेस्टिगेशन करनी चाहिए, रिसर्च करनी चाहिए, ताकि आप जो प्रिवेंटिव डिसेबिलिटीज है आप उसको रोक सके. बहुत सारे जो ऐसी डिसेबिलिटी अगर आप प्रॉपरली स्क्रीनिंग करते हो तो बहुत सारे ऐसे जो डिसेबिलिटीज को आप प्रिवेंट कर सकते हो अगर आप अर्ली इंटरवेंशन करते हो. तो सभी बच्चों को 1 साल में एक बार स्क्रीन करें कि उनमें क्या हाई रिस्क है. ये कई कंट्रीज में किया जाता है, और ये पाया भी गया है कि अगर आप हर साल चिल्ड्रन को उनकी स्क्रीनिंग करते हैं, ज्यादातर जो ऑटिज्म के केसेस हैं आप उसको कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं, आप डिटेक्ट कर सकते हैं. प्राइमरी सेंटर्स में स्टाफ को आप ट्रेनिंग दें, उनको अवेयरनेस कैंपेन करें, जनरल हाइजीन के बारे में, क्लीनलीनेस के बारे में, हेल्थ के बारे में, सैनिटाइजेशन के बारे में, मदर की प्री नेटल और पोस्ट नेटल, मदर और चाइल्ड का, उसके ये ध्यान दें. इट्स अगेन वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. पब्लिक स्कूल्स, प्राइमरी हेल्थ केयर सेंटर में स्टाफ को ट्रेन करें, अवेयर करें. विलेज और आंगनबाड़ी वर्कर्स को आप ट्रेन करें. रेडियो के माध्यम से लोगों को इनके बारे में अवेयर करें. इसमें सेक्सुअल एंड रिप्रोडक्टिव राइट्स की भी बात की गई है. सेक्शन 26 है इंश्योरेंस स्कीम फॉर देयर एम्प्लॉयज. जनरली ये होती है स्कीम सब में. आई डोंट नो ये सेक्शन क्यों इंक्लूड किया गया, लेकिन आई थिंक ये सेपरेटली एम्प्लॉयज की इंश्योरेंस के बारे में बात करता है. जनरली जीआईएस होता है जनरल इंश्योरेंस स्कीम, लेकिन हो सकता है कि कई जो नहीं मानते हो तो ये उनके लिए है कि भाई आपको ये सेपरेट इंश्योरेंस स्कीम एम्प्लॉयज के लिए लानी है. बाकी तो वही है, सर्विस की बात की है अगेन 27 में। सेक्शन 28 रिहेबिलिटेशन की बात करता है, ज्यादा डिटेल इसमें नहीं दी गई है कि भाई आपने रिहेबिलिटेशन कैसे करना है। और अगेन रिसर्च के मैटर में भी ऐसा ही है कि रिसर्च करना, ये इसको डाला गया, किसी भी कम्युनिटी के लिए रिसर्च बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, लेकिन इसमें कहा गया है कि रिसर्च करनी है, लेकिन उसके पैरामीटर्स नहीं बताए गए हैं, एक्ट साइलेंट है। रिहेबिलिटेशन के ऊपर भी साइलेंट है और रिसर्च के बारे में भी साइलेंट है। फिर ये एक्ट आपका रिक्रिएशन के बारे में बात करता है, स्पोर्टिंग एक्टिविटीज में बात करता है, तो ये इंपॉर्टेंट है। उसमें ये है कि आपने स्पेशल स्पोर्ट्स को तो प्रमोट करना ही है, लेकिन आपने इंक्लूसिव स्पोर्ट्स को भी प्रमोट करना है। उसमें इंक्लूसिव स्पोर्ट्स यानी पैरालंपिक स्पोर्ट्स हो गया या स्पेशल ओलंपिक, वो तो आपने करना ही है, जो कर रहे हो आप उसको प्रमोट करें, उस पर स्कीम बनाएं। ये जो स्पोर्ट्स अथॉरिटीज है उनको जिम्मेदारी दी गई है, लेकिन इंक्लूज मल्टी सेंसरी की इन्वेशन की बात भी गई है। और इंक्लूसिव सपोर्ट, इंक्लूसिव यानी अगर कोई पार्शियल ब्लाइंड है, वो इंडिया की इंडिया टीम में खेलना चाहता है, मेन स्ट्रीम इंडिया टीम में, तो वो खेल सकता है, उसको कोई मना नहीं कर सकता कि आप मेडिकली अनफिट नहीं कर सकते। ये क्या है, मल्टी सेंसरी की बात की, यानी कि अगर आपको किसी भी स्पोर्ट्स को एक सेंसरी पे आपने उसको रिस्ट्रिक्ट नहीं करना है। अगर फॉर एग्जांपल जो क्रिकेट है साइट की गेम है, लेकिन आपने उसको साउंड के साथ भी रिलेट किया है, तो आप मल्टी सेंसरी इन्वेंशन आपने करनी है। जैसे टेबल टेनिस हो गया, ब्लाइंड खेलते हैं, ऑर्थोपेडिक खेलते हैं। एक्सेसिबल एंटरटेनमेंट की बात की गई है, और इसमें सिर्फ बात ही नहीं कही गई है कि उनको एक्सेसिबल इंडस्ट्री का पार्ट होने की बात की, कि आपको उनको भी इंक्लूड करना है। अभी पीछे जी एक खबर आई थी कि पुणे में एक कोर्स था, तो उन्होंने कहा ये वॉइस ओवर और कुछ ऐसा एक्टिंग से रिलेटेड एक कोर्स था, तो उसमें उन्होंने कहा कि भाई हम ब्लाइंड को नहीं लेंगे, लो विजन को नहीं लेंगे। फिर उसके ऊपर जो लो विजन प्रोड्यूसर डायरेक्टर थे वो भी आए थे, बोले यार इतने साल हो गए, हमें तो आज तक किसी ने नहीं पूछा लो विजन के बारे में, ये नई चर्चा शुरू की है। तो बाद में उनको ये वो कोर्स को स्टार्ट करना पड़ा। आई थिंक दैट्स ऑल फ्रॉम दिस चैप्टर्स। जो इम्पोर्टेंट बातें मुझे लगी तो मैंने आपके साथ शेयर की। तो अगर आपका कोई भी क्वेश्चन है तो आई वुड बी हैप्पी टू टॉक अबाउट दैट। थैंक यू सो मच।
हेलो सर।
हेलो
सर, मैं गौतम बात कर रहा हूँ।
जी गौतम।
सर, मुझे एक्चुअली ये जानना था कि आरपीडब्ल्यूडी एक्ट 2016 में क्या ऐसा कोई प्रोविजन है जिसमें एम्प्लॉयर को हम कह सकें कि आपको हमारे लिए जो वर्किंग, जो हमारे जॉब के लिए जो नेसेसरी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है, जैसे फॉर वीआई दैट स्क्रीन रीडिंग सॉफ्टवेयर, तो वो
हाँ, तो
जॉब्स वो।
अभी अभी बताया ना मैंने, जिस चैप्टर 4 में ही जो सेक्शन 20 है वो रीजनेबल अकोमोडेशन की बात करता है। तो बिल्कुल पूरा प्रावधान है कि आपको पूरी सपोर्ट दी जाएगी, रीजनेबल अकोमोडेशन दिया जाएगा, आपको टॉकिंग सॉफ्टवेयर दिया जाएगा, जो जो आपकी रिक्वायरमेंट है।
बट सर वो आरआरबी में सर ऐसे नहीं फॉलो हो पाता। एक्चुअली मेरी
देते हैं
फ्रेंड
सर,
है
और वो
ओके।
इक्का दुक्का के तो आप डिमांड कर सकते हो, आपका पूरा राइट है। आरआरबी हो या कौन सा भी बी हो, दे कैन नॉट डिनाई दैट।
ओके ओके सर, सेक्शन एक बार फिर से बता दीजिए।
सेक्शन 20।
ओके सर, थैंक यू।
हेलो
हेलो।
सर।
हेलो।
यस सर, आई एम आकर्ष। मुझे ये जानना था सर, आपने जो स्पेशल एक्सचेंज का बताया सर, तो उसमें मतलब कैसे रजिस्ट्रेशन करेंगे, उसका कुछ वेबसाइट है क्या?
हाँ जी, आप गूगल पे सर्च करोगे अपने अपने एरियाज में तो आपको मिल जाएंगी।
ठीक है सर, थैंक
स्पेशल एम्प्लॉयमेंट एक्सचेंज।
हेलो सर, मैं ऑडिबल?
जी सर।
जी सर, मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि आरपीडब्ल्यूडी एक्ट में क्या ऐसा कोई प्रावधान है जैसे कि आपने भी सुना, अवेयर होंगे इस बारे में, जैसे कोई हैंडीकैप होता है तो उसको उसी नाम से बुलाया जाता है, जैसे कोई पैर से है तो उसे उसी नाम से। तो उसमें कोई पनिशमेंट का ऐसा कोई वो है?
मतलब अगर कोई आपके साथ बदतमीजी करता है या डेरोगेटरी लैंग्वेज यूज करता है, बिल्कुल आपको धारियाल सर ने उनके अपने चैप्टर में बताया था कि उसको सजा का प्रावधान है।
हाँ, तो मैं सर वही जानना चाहता हूँ किस सेक्शन के तहत ये सजा का प्रावधान है, अगर कोई हमें जी ऐसे उसी नाम से बुलाता है। तो जैसे पहले जैसे कि जाति सूचक या फिर हम हैंडीकैप है तो हैंडीकैप के उसी नाम से बुलाया जाता है, जैसे उस हिसाब से।
सर सेक्शन ये 89 से 96 के बीच में डिटेल्ड इसके बारे में बात की गई है। अब स्पेसिफिक तो आई थिंक 92 या 93 है ये सेक्शन, जिसपे बात की है कि अगर आपको कोई डेरोगेटरी लैंग्वेज यूज करता है या आपको इंसल्ट करता है तो आप कंप्लेन लॉन्च कर सकते हैं।
I think so, Danish, we can move towards the next speaker and take the more questions at the end. I think so.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jayant and Bhumika Trust, for the opportunity.
I would request now Namrata to proceed with the next speaker's introduction. Namrata, over to you.
Okay, now I would like to introduce Advocate Kanchan, ma'am. Kanchan ma'am completed her graduation from Sydenham College and did her LLB from Government Law College. She practices mainly in the field of corporate, testimony, properties, disability laws. Her client includes Indian multinationals, NRIs investing in India, Indian Financial Institute, private and public trusts, high net worth individuals, and NGOs working in the field of disability. Welcome, ma'am. The mic is yours.
Gautam's question just now about RRBs, yes, they have to provide you with JAWS or any software that you need for your work. Also, I would request you to adapt to NVDA, which is a free software. It'll help. They must give, but you also can adapt. So it makes life easier for everybody. NGOs having a legal teams, yes, a lot of NGOs do have legal teams. NAB does in Bombay. I know that a lot of AICB definitely does. NFB does. I know the team from Chennai, DRA, etc. They have legal teams. So जिसको legal आवश्यकता है, a lot of NGOs करता है काम. Okay, many NGOs have a legal whole team, advocacy team, or at least some lawyer whom they can refer you to. I think NCPDP has started a legal services department fully. It'll take time to set up fully, isn't? But it is moving on. So we are supporting some litigation in UP, etc. So a lot of teams hai, ऐसे कि नहीं है, NGOs में है. There are many NGOs like Enable India who do a lot of service delivery, but their work is mainly employment, education, and those arenas. So therefore, it doesn't make sense for them to have legal teams. I know that IWA also has gone to court, so etc. But that was the two questions that were there earlier that I heard. And Akash's question from Bihar was कि मैं अवेयरनेस स्प्रेड कर रहा हूँ. यस, अवेयरनेस स्प्रेड कीजिए, पर अवेयरनेस के बाद इम्प्लीमेंटेशन एंड थोड़ा मोटिवेशन टू इन्फोर्स योर राइट्स. अगर पहले आप कहेंगे कि हाँ ये आपके राइट्स हैं, वो पहली बात हो गई. सेकेंड बात है कि हाँ अगर आपकी ये राइट है पर किसी ने आपको मार दिया या आपको कुछ गलत कहा, तो आपको नेक्स्ट स्टेप नहीं लेना है. उनको नेक्स्ट स्टेप, उनका हाथ पकड़ के नेक्स्ट स्टेप दिखाना है कि हाँ हम कोर्ट जा सकते हैं या कमिश्नर को कंप्लेन कर सकते हैं या जो भी नेक्स्ट स्टेप है वो कर सकते हैं. अवेयरनेस इज ऑल गुड. अवेयरनेस विदाउट द नेक्स्ट स्टेप इज नो गुड. इट डजंट गेट यू एनीवे. हाँ मेरे पास राइट्स हैं, वो जैसे हम लोग बैठते हैं ना और डिस्कस करते हैं पॉलिटिक्स में ऐसे हो रहा है ऐसे हो रहा है और कुछ इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं करते हम, और हम अपने ओन एमपीज एंड एमएलएज को क्वेश्चन नहीं करते हैं. दोज आर नो गुड. हमारी रोड्स खराब है, बट हम कभी बीएमसी में, दैट्स माय बीएम बॉम्बे म्युनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशन, को कभी लिखते नहीं है कि हमारी रोड खराब है। खाली हम बैठ के ऑफिस में या घर पे रोते हैं। वो रोना धोना बंद कीजिए, अभी हमारा टाइम हो आया है, हमें कोर्ट्स जाने हैं और कंप्लेन करना है। हमारी राइट्स हैं, फर्स्ट फंडामेंटल राइट्स, जो हर नागरिक के हैं हमारे अंडर द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया। वो राइट्स हमारे हैं पहले पहले, और उसके बाद हमारे राइट्स हैं एज अ डिसेबल्ड पर्सन। बट एज अ डिसेबल्ड पर्सन, अगर आप कह रहे हैं कि आपको हैंडीकैप नहीं कहना है, देन यू डोंट बिहेव लाइक अ हैंडीकैप एंड सी टू इट दैट द पर्सन इज सेइंग इट इन व्हाट कॉन्टेक्स्ट। इफ somebody says she is blind, she is arguing in court, I have no problem with that. पर अगर कोई बोले कि this blind person knows nothing, that is unacceptable. I will not accept that. So जहां आपको लाइन ड्रॉ करनी है, अगर वो handicap is not a good word, we don't use it anymore, we use person with disability. Person first, disability second or last. Okay, now the person also has a lot of skills which Danish has spoken about, and employment, etc., and Shruti also covered those. So we have skills. So you can't just call me a disabled person just like that. I'm not disabled, I'm a person with some disability. Okay, so that is something important. So don't get hassled if you're called something unless it is really badly used. And then, of course, section 3 or discrimination and insult is very important. You cannot insult me. But the other person who has done it will not get arrested, just like under the Scheduled Caste Scheduled Tribes Act, they will get arrested immediately. You will not, that will not happen under the disability law. So there is a little line of difference there. हमारी एक्ट स्ट्रॉन्ग है हमारे लिए, but strong compared to the other laws like the National Commission for Women, हमारी कमिश्नर इतने स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं है, पर फिर भी जितने स्ट्रॉन्ग है हम इतना भी नहीं यूज करते हैं. सो जयंत एंड आपकी टीम जो है, जो स्प्रेड कर रही है अवेयरनेस, और रेडियो उड़ान, श्रुति's articles, Daryal Saab speaking, Sanjay's overall commitment to this, I think all our speakers today have covered all your rights, and I'm happy to take all questions just now, because I think there's no point in going into, okay, the special court was set up in different states, but सब states में नहीं set up हुआ है. Prosecutors को appoint करने हैं कि ये नहीं है, और cases नहीं आगे आ रहे हैं. Very few cases have come in the special courts, जहाँ भी जो भी states में आए हैं. For all states में नहीं आए अभी तक. हर state में, जिस state में नहीं है, it is for the people local to make a noise about it and do something about it and write about it. In Maharashtra, there was this one man who was insulted. His sister was insulted because she was disabled, and all the shopkeepers and all used to laugh at her. He was the one who actually forced the government to, by writing, by complaining, by making a noise about it. He was the one to force the Maharashtra government to actually notify special courts in Maharashtra. And but the government has a right and a duty to make the court, but only when somebody like this man gets up and says, no, please do it, and do it properly, and do it, and do it, and do it. It took him 2.5 years to get the court set up in Maharashtra. So हमारे rights है, हमारे rights है. अगर right हमारे हैं, तो हमें ही implement करना है. हमें ही देखना है कि हमारी rights हमारे ही रहे और पेपर पर ना रहे. जब लास्ट इंटरव्यू जावेद आबिदी ने धनेश को दिया था, तब कहा था कि इट इज अ वेरी गुड लॉ एंड वी हैव टू इम्प्लीमेंट. 5 साल हो गए हैं तब से, और अभी तक हम थोड़ा थोड़ा कर रहे हैं. बहुत इम्प्लीमेंटेशन नहीं हुआ है. आगे जाएंगे हम, बट आई एम हैप्पी टू टेक क्वेश्चंस देन. जयंत, कैन यू see that?
Yeah, ma'am.
Hello.
Please.
I'm happy to take questions.
Yeah. Hello. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Hi.
Am I audible? Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead.
मैम, मेरा पहला क्वेश्चन ये है कि हम देखते हैं कि जो मल्टीनेशनल कंपनीज हैं, बड़ी बड़ी, या जो होटल्स हैं, उनमें ब्लाइंडों को हायर नहीं किया जाता. एग्जाम्पल, मैंने एक इंटरव्यू दिया था होटल में. मेरे कंपनी जो वहाँ जहाँ मैं ट्रेनिंग कर रहा हूँ वहाँ आए थे, तो उन्होंने कहा था मेरे पास सिक्योरिटी नहीं है तो हम ब्लाइंडों को नहीं रख सकते। तो क्या आरपीडब्ल्यूडी एक्ट में इसका कोई प्रावधान है कि हम उनसे पूछ सकें या उनके खिलाफ हम कोर्ट में अपील कर सकें कि हमें हायर क्यों नहीं किया था?
नहीं, प्राइवेट कंपनी है, पर आपको लिख के पूछना है कि व्हाट इज द प्रॉब्लम, व्हाई वुड यू नॉट एम्प्लॉय। आई हैड स्पोकन टू लेमन ट्री, and lemon tree is a big employer of disabled people. Okay, not
Yeah.
necessarily the blind but other disabilities. और उन्होंने कहा था कि whatever we can first start training, let us train. And they're using a lot of people with disability. They have people with intellectual disability, with hearing impairment, and they are employing, but I don't think they have a single blind person.
दूसरा क्वेश्चन मैम आपने मेरा सुना होगा, शायद आपने अभी उसका आंसर भी
But sort it out on the table.
या अभी उसका आंसर
जी?
भी अभी दूसरा क्वेश्चन जो अभी आपने मेरा आंसर भी दिया था कि अगर हैंडीकैप
हाँ.
आपको पसंद नहीं है, लेकिन मेरा मतलब यहाँ हैंडीकैप से नहीं है। लाइक मैंने देखा है रूरल एरियाओं में या कहीं जाते हैं, अगर कोई पैर से विकलांग लाइक लंगड़ा या लाइक डिफरेंट डिफरेंट वर्ड्स से उनको कॉल किया जाता है, तो मैं उसके लिए जानना चाहता था कि किस सेक्शन में या किस प्रकार हम इनको जवाब दे सकते हैं, कोर्ट में या स्पेशल कोर्ट में?
सुनिए, कोर्ट जाना तो ठीक है, ओके, सेक्शन में बता दूंगी मैं आपको, बट द पॉइंट इज कि अगर आपको जाना है कोर्ट में, आपको पता है कि कितना समय लगने वाला है कोर्ट में? Isn't it better to turn around, challenge the person, से क्यों मेरे को लंगड़ा बोल रहे हो? Yes, मैं चल नहीं सकता हूँ बराबर, पर आप क्यों मेरे को बोल रहे हो? ओके, मैंने आपका कुछ किया क्या? गलत नहीं किया? और अगर if you're really affected, then please tell him to use the word दिव्यांग, because प्राइम मिनिस्टर जी की ख्वाहिश है कि हम दिव्यांग यूज करें, हमें हमारी डिसेबिलिटी सेक्टर की ख्वाहिश है कि हम ना यूज करें, पर अगर यूज करना है, बिकॉज दैट इज अ बेटर वर्ड एटलीस्ट इन रूरल इंडिया, it is more acceptable in rural India than blind and so पिक्चर्स में भी यूज करते हैं इसके लिए। आई थिंक इसने केस किया है क्रिपल्ड के अगेंस्ट, पर I don't have a problem with blindness. When they say, oh, I in fact sometimes introduce myself as blind lawyer, okay, or the lawyer with blindness, okay, because मुझे काम से मतलब है, मुझे टैगिंग से मतलब नहीं है। लंगड़ा बोल रहे हैं, टर्न अराउंड एंड स्टैंड बैक एंड कन्फ्रंट, ओके, एंड केस करना बहुत साल लगता है। आई एम नॉट स्टॉपिंग यू, बट दैट इज अ लॉन्ग प्रोसेस, और there is no, it's not going to go so soon, okay. So वो सोच के समझ के, एवरी सिचुएशन, आपको बहुत बुरा लग रहा है तो डेफिनेटली कोर्ट जाइए, ओके। देखो आपके पास स्पेशल कोर्ट है कि नहीं आपके स्टेट में, एंड जा सकते हैं आप, ओके। नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन।
हेलो मैम।
यस
मैम, गौतम अगेन।
हाँ, टेल।
मैम, मुझे ये जानना था कि दैट जैसे कुछ कंपनीज हैं जो जस्ट लाइक दैट द कंपनी व्हिच डिजाइन्स द सॉफ्टवेयर टैली, दे से दैट हम सॉफ्टवेयर एक्सेसिबल इसलिए नहीं बनाते जो नए आ रहे हैं, हम वर्जन्स लॉन्च कर रहे हैं क्योंकि हमारे पास उतना मार्केट ही नहीं है। तो दैट फिर मैम हमारे लिए एम्प्लॉयमेंट अपॉर्चुनिटीज कम होती चली जाती हैं। तो मैम क्या हम उस कंपनी को कह सकते हैं कि आप हमारे लिए प्लीज तैयार कीजिए?
हाँ, कह सकते हैं, एंड a lot of companies are sensitive enough to do it, okay. And let me also tell you, Gautam, कि internationally requirement है कि सब accessible हो, तो we have to increase that, because अगर see the thing with we don't have the purchasing powers, हमारे कितने practitioner CAs हैं जो लेंगे tally officially, so the we can't show really कि 10 packets लिए हैं tally के, so please make it accessible, or there are 20 of us who will buy it. Now it's like the ATM also, we have forced the banks to give us stocking ATMs. How many of us use stocking ATMs today? I personally don't use one, but unless we use it, see, we have forced the banks, and banks are government, so we can force them, okay. But a company like Tally, yes, we can request them, we can talk to the design team, we can suggest it to them, and they will do it. It'll take a little time, but it'll do. I have just started the process of firing a letter off to Times of India, their I pay for the online version and the e-version, and I do not find it accessible at all. And I know that that Times of India has been misbehaving since a few years. It's not like aaj ki story. It's a very old story. Times of India's web version is not accessible. So, I mean, we have to go for them, each one of them. I can tell you, itna resistance aa raha hai Infosys se while they're doing the income tax, which is a government portal, okay, which is a public sector portal. Kitni resistance aa rahi hai Infosys se, you know. So Infosys is resisting, but Tally will not resist. I think with a little bit of extra work on Tally, I think a little bit of persuasion, letter writing, you know, somebody calling for a meeting with the highest authorities. We have managed all this in the past with NSDL and all because we met the chairman and tried to convince him. So Tally is, we can definitely take it up as a possibility. A lot of the other service providers, as you know, Rahul Bajaj is in court with, before the commissioner against a lot of Practo, etc. Even Practo said we will not do it, but they're doing it now. So, ho raha hai, you know. I can't say nahi ho raha hai aaj ke din mein.
Okay, thank you.
So, any other questions, Jayant? I think everyone's hungry now.
Yeah, everyone seems to be a bit tired now because they've been listening to this. Like from
Yes,
11.
I think so. So I will leave this at this point, and I know I'm the last speaker, so I know my my problems. Yes, but Danish, so Jayant, I'm happy to take any questions offline later on. If you have any questions, just shoot it on my WhatsApp, and I will be happy to answer them. Okay.
Yeah, sure. In case I will receive any questions from the audience, I will just let you know, so they can just text in the chat boxes.
Chat box, or you can put it later on after even.
Hello.
Sure.
Okay. Haji.
Yeah, मैम मोहन अगेन। मैम मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि जैसे कि हम किसी यहाँ कॉलेजेस में एडमिशन लेने जाते हैं किसी स्कूल्स में, कई बार यहाँ तो कहते हैं कि आप स्पेशल स्कूल में पढ़ो, आप ब्लाइंड हो या तो आपका यहाँ एडमिशन हो सकती है। कई बार ये केसेस हुए हैं, तो इसके लिए किस सेक्शन के तहत मतलब हम उससे बात कर सकते हैं कि नहीं हमें एडमिशन लिया जाना चाहिए और हमारे पास ये राइट्स है?
Equal opportunity. It's the principle of the law. Okay, this is nothing ऐसे कि आप को फोर्स करना है कि आप स्पेशल स्कूल में जाइए। सिर्फ एक बात होता है कि जब भी हम रेगुलर स्कूल में जाते हैं, जो सो कॉल्ड नॉर्मल स्कूल हो, यू नो, उसमें क्या बात होती है कि दे नॉट ट्रेन्ड टू डील विद अस, ओके, एंड इफ योर पेरेंट्स आर नॉट एजुकेटेड और फर्स्ट जनरेशनल लर्नर्स हैं आप, तो बहुत मुश्किल पड़ जाती है आपको कोप करने में। ओके, वो भी हो सकता है विद एन एनजीओ हेल्प एंड विद अ लिटिल बिट ऑफ मॉडिफिकेशन हेल्प, थोड़ा हो जाता है, वो प्रॉब्लम नहीं है एज अ मेन प्रॉब्लम, but schools are scared of taking us because they don't know how to deal with us. Okay, so they also need a little bit of support, so a little bit of NGO support, a little bit of knowledge from the parents would help a little bit, but no school can refuse you admission. There is no this thing about it, just because you're blind. Okay, colleges may of course reservation hai, schools may we are under the education law also, Right to Education Act also, but see, every right has a duty and has a adjustment. Okay, so nothing is 100% watertight. You will win your case if you want to get admission, but how you will be treated out there and how you will manage there is another question. Okay, that is the thing. But schools need to open up, and they will have to open up. There's no question. A lot of kids are going to regular schools now. They don't need to go to special school. Sometimes we, as disability activists, we feel कि थोड़ा अगर बच्चा goes to a special school initially, okay, just initially, he might be a little better off. But it's a moot point कि, you know, हर बच्चा को decision खुद लेने दो, हर parent को लेने दो वो decision, you know, because उसकी grounding बराबर होती है अगर if he knows braille etc.
Informative.
Okay,
that we have. Yeah, sure, ma'am, sure. I hope I'm audible to you, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
This issue that we're talking about of the implementation of the Act, RPWD Act, it's very wider perspective that we are talking about, because there are a lot of laws and provisions that are not still being implemented even in the national capital territory of Delhi itself. It's very disheartening to say at such a point that it's still not being getting implemented. It's very difficult to get it implemented. Either you go through the courts, either you go through the state commissioners or the chief commissioners, or whether diplomatic channels. It's very difficult to get it done. And it's a very wider perspective that we need to look in. And 1%, 2%, or 4%, it's not possible to do. I think we all need to take our initiative at our own level, and then we can do something or bring some change in this society.
I agree 100%. Everybody has to take up their own issues. Okay. See, once I was working on the airports being accessible. So somebody wrote to me and saying, why aren't you not taking up the trains? Okay, the railways need to be accessible. Well, I agree. Everything needs to be accessible. अपना जो भी story आपको निकालना है, निकाल के चालू करो. Because एक से दो होते हैं, दो से चार होते हैं, चार से आठ होते हैं. It's not 1, 2, 3. Okay, it's progressive very quickly. And let me tell you, from the banking, I got a few rules. I got one notification in 2008, and I got the IBA done. Okay, the rules there, the guidelines there. From there, we have jumped to National Housing Bank. We have got so many trading account done and so many other things done, that it is such a progressive thing, but it has taken a long time. And now there are new problems that have come up, like the credit card. You can't swipe it properly because there are no they only touch screen point of sale, etc. You have to be careful. Talking ATMs have come, but people are not using it. But online, a lot of people are banking online. Most of the banking websites are reasonably accessible, but every time they modify, there is a problem. So Jen, every one of your participants today needs to take up one cause. It doesn't matter what it is, small or big, it doesn't matter. We will make a change if we pick up our own cause. Okay, anything. And then get the others to support. You can't do without support. When we did NSDL, what I did was I spoke to a lot of the organizations for the blind, and that means NFB, ASEB, NAB, everybody. Okay. And we wrote a letter saying, and each of those people wrote a letter saying, our representative Kanchan. Okay. I didn't go representing anybody particularly, but everybody said our representative. That was the letter that was written. And that's how the work got done, because the NSDL, after they got impressed with what we had said to them, they got these letters saying our representative Kanchan. And it was a similar letter from everybody. And I have to say, you need support. Also, please understand that you need support from other organizations, like for the senior citizens. They're similar to our problems. They're going to be having problems with reading. So they'll need large print, they'll need darker print. So our low vision people and our senior citizens who are not considered disabled will also be in the same position. So there are going to be the wheelchair users, walking position. He's coming in.
We can focus more on pregnant women's also. So that could also be a set of people that we can focus and work on.
So we don't have a lobby there. See, there's no lobby there. Yeah. There's no organization specially for that I know of for pregnant women. But there are organizations for senior citizens, but you see what suits you, who is your natural ally. In the copyright matter, we call ourselves print disabled. We didn't say visually impaired. We said print disabled. Who are the print disabled? Not only the blind and the visually impaired, but the people who can't pick up the books. They are print disabled. There is the whole dyslexia community, which is print disabled. So they combine with us. Therefore, we become a bigger number. Therefore, we are able to impress more. Of course, we led it. Of course, the blind led it. But the thing is, we have to combine with other people. It's like how you in college, you combine with people who have the same interests. All the cricket lovers will say the same thing. Okay. So all the ones who want some little change will want that. Please, let's go for it. Okay. All these lectures and seminars are very good as a starting point, not the end point. The 3rd of December has come and 3rd of December is gone. Next 3rd of December, again, Jayant will invite me. Okay, Jayant? But in between, what will you do? Nothing.
Ma'am, we keep on doing some of the other things. So I must
pick up one issue. Pick up one issue and tell me by next year that you will close that issue. Come on, all the people out here, come on, pick up one issue and pick it up. Let's go for it.
Whatever support we want. That's a good thing, ma'am.
One issue pick up karo. Whatever issue you want.
Yes, ma'am, we have to come up with one issue.
Yeah, kuch bhi karo. But you can all take one issue
infrastructure.
हाँ, सुगम infrastructure. Of course. कुछ भी करो. एक वो रास्ता आपके सामने वो सीधा कर दो ना. At least हम आराम से चल सकते हैं. आपके घर के सामने तो लग करो. But yes, let us do it, because let's do it. And any help, I'm available. Please call me in the night only. Don't call me in the day, please. Okay, that's it.
Yes.
No, the only reason I'm working and I don't know whether I return calls. I forget also at the end of the day. So call me in the night so I can answer your calls. Okay. Thank you very much for having me, and thank you for missing your lunch for a little bit. But thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much
bye.
For being
bye.
so much patient.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.
And thank you everyone for the other speakers as well. Danish, I think, is there still, and others have left already. But thank you to all the audience also for being such a patient listener. And in case you have any questions for any of the speakers or any for us, please do let us know. And happy this International Day of Persons with Disabilities to each and every one of you. And wish you a great day ahead.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for the session.